Welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 29th of March, 2019. This is the day we have been waiting for. And it's kind of a big... It's not actually like that, like a finale.
It's a betrayal of all things decent and good and right in this world.
And you have... Say a prayer for Leah, because she is coming to you guys live. It's very important that we come live today.
Yes.
And she has some sort of yuck in here. We aren't sure if it's a sinus infection or if it's a regular old head cold. Either way, she's been miserable for days. I'm really sorry.
I'm never miserable. I'm just on different levels of happy. Down here a little bit, up here a little bit, right?
Yep.
Ain't nothing gonna stop my happy. Because I got Jesus.
That's right.
Y'all. And I got so much good news, and I got so much crazy news. And when Smollett came out and he was cleared of his charges, I was like, oh my gosh. But then when Raul Emanuel, who had declared Chicago Trump-free zone and is a super liberal,
the mayor,
comes out, Raul Emanuel and the police chief, we were at Skippy's house, Marilyn's significant other, and we were leaving. And it came on the news, and we watched the entire press conference and how they ripped that man from one side to the other side. It was
really enjoyable.
And it was the funnest thing I'd seen in a long time.
Great.
And I was like, this week just keeps getting better and better. And I'm just like, ain't nothing going to mess with my happy, because I got so much going. We got so much going on. Okay. And I got to tell you, you guys, when we're talking about Britain right now, and today is March 29th. It was supposed to go down in history as the day the UK left the European Union.
You know, interesting fact, and I hate to interrupt you here.
No, go right ahead.
But you know how John Adams always thought that the date was going for like our Independence Day was going to be earlier.
Down. Yeah.
Than it was. I don't remember the exact date.
Yeah. You're right about that. You're right.
And so, maybe this is kind of a little precursor.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just following in our footsteps a
so
little bit.
So I got a picture up here. This is Nigel Farage. Okay. And he says, we will fight them again and beat them once more. He is a smart man. Okay. He is a smart man. You're going to have to forgive me because I got a lot going on in my head, but it's coming out in different personalities today. I don't know why.
Okay, so
I know, right? So this man right here, he is going to help you save your Brexit, mark my words. But he knew from the very beginning that they weren't going to let go, because through all of his funny speeches, and his smiles and his laughter and his beers in the pub, he knows what's really going on, and he knows how bad and evil they are, and he knows that herpes don't leave without a fight. And I'm telling you, that's what's happening right now.
I don't think herpes ever leaves.
You can make it leave.
You need the best homeopath ever.
Parliament Square was a great big rally. Parliament Square. Leave means leave. Oh, look at him. You know, I got to hand it to him. This should be the day everybody's celebrating, but he's still laughing.
I know.
Because you know what?
Classic knife
you can't
face.
cry, because you got to keep people's hopes up. Now, I'm going to keep your hopes up. You know why? Because there was some indicative votes this week. And they put on, do you want pancakes for breakfast, or do you want a cinnamon roll? Do you think that we should outlaw dogs, or do you think we should make a dog limit? They put everything on the platter for them to decide, and they all voted no on everything, which is a good thing.
Literally nothing passed. And as Horatio likes to call the meaningful vote 2.5, 2.5.
Yeah.
didn't pass today either.
Yeah, and see, this is good news.
Jacob Rees-Mogg did vote for it today, though.
Traitor. Traitor. He believes that without May's deal, then there is no Brexit. But here's the thing. This is what we do when we play tug of war. Okay? The EU and Theresa May are tugging on one side. They say this is the deal. This is the only deal. But no, that's not true.
Right.
Because if you don't have a deal, then you have a no-deal Brexit. Because it's in the law. You already passed the law for Brexit. Okay? And so the EU has said that April 12th is the new March 29th. We don't know. Now, we also have heard that in order to persuade people to pass their vote, she said, after my deal passes, I will step down.
Uh-huh.
I got a bridge to sell you. Because this woman said, we're leaving on March 29th no matter what. We're leaving on March. She will lie.
Oh, my goodness.
She just like one living lie.
Like the devil.
She is. And so, Nigel Farage came out with a telegraph. He says, before 2016, I promised to cause an earthquake in British politics. This time, I will attempt a revolution. It will be democratic and it will be peaceful. Yes. And so I want to play for you this video. I don't follow all the people in, I don't know who this person is. This is Varoufakis. I don't know who Varoufakis is, but he made a really good point. And I watched what he said.
Ripaz says, Michelle, the only vote they didn't take in the Commons was, shall we keep Diane Abbott in her post as Shadow Home Secretary? Jack Russell says, apparently Jacob Rees-Mogg took a chance on her deal as he's after the top job.
Oh, see, that's what will get you every time. That's not what I want to do. And I have heard, and see, that's a rumor too. But I have heard that some people were hoping just to get her out of there, right?
And sacrifice the deal of a lifetime.
Right, exactly.
Meaning actually leaving the European Union, which her deal is not. You all know that.
Right, okay. So first I'll go back to that one. They told us the referendum was once in a lifetime decision. They said they would respect the result. They said we would leave the EU today, including the customs union single market. They lied, and we shall never forgive them.
Wait, hold on. Don't press play. Don't press it. Don't press it. Wait.
Well,
oh, you know what? We're not even connected on this laptop. You would have to go in and do a Bluetooth thing. This is we're working out the kinks on Mom's new laptop because she was frustrated with it. Let me read some comments here. Britt Baza says, Michelle, Theresa May has used a SI or statutory instrument to change the date of the Article 50 law. St. Mark the Evangelist says, 29th March, the Brexit day that never was. The priest I've moved in with is so angry with Parliament right now, he believes that we most likely won't be leaving. Gaz Porter says, Jack, I am disappointed that with Mogg, he's another fake politician. Jack Russell says, fall on her sword. I hope it's a rusty fork. Aphrodite Blighty says, we cannot vote for her Remain
something in order to
deal.
make it Discovery.
Don't care about a new PM. She will go at some point anyway. That's a really good point.
There it is. We found it.
Is that the right one?
Took a little while. I hope so. Unless I'm connected to Mom's upstairs. Wouldn't that be funny?
Well, this would have done its thingy. It's like magic. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Veterans for Britain were very much against May's treaty.
Vote. This is the once in a lifetime decision.
See, no, it's not.
This is a decision. A once and for all decision.
Coming out of your...
It's not.
No, pause that. You might need to, now that it's connected, now you probably need to go and choose the right...
I think
right click on the speaker there and let's see what happens. Now go up there.
No.
No, what's that?
Wait.
That was it right there.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Welcome to our show.
Yeah.
Where you get to be a part of, go up to open sound settings. A part of every aspect.
I know. Choose your input? No.
Output.
Output.
There it is.
All right.
Try again.
Okay.
Will decide. This is a once in a generation
Vote. This is the once-in-a-lifetime decision.
This is a decision, a once-and-for-all decision. It's not. We will not be taking a decision like this again in our lifetime.
There won't be another referendum on Europe. This is it.
This is a one-off choice between staying in or leaving completely.
If we as a country decide to quit, then we're out for good. There's no going back.
There's no second vote.
There will be no second referendum.
No, I don't think we need a second referendum.
The referendum is clear and has to be accepted, and we can't have a rerun of the question that was put to the country.
I say that with all the conviction and all the sincerity I have. It's so important, this decision.
If we vote to leave, then we will leave.
If people vote to leave, we leave.
You vote to leave, we're out. That's it. We're going.
Whatever the result is, we have to respect it.
We respect the result of this referendum.
And Parliament should respect that referendum result. We've said that all the way through.
Whatever the British people decide, we work together constructively to make that happen.
I don't think it would be right for Parliament to try and unravel the decision that the public have made.
The British Parliament should deliver what is required of that decision of the British people.
I am not going to waste time, precious time, resisting Brexit from happening.
We will be in the European Union on the 29th of March 2019. We'd be out of the single market.
We're leaving the single market. Right. We're leaving the customs union.
In March 2019, we will cease to be full members of the single market and the customs union.
You have 2 years to negotiate. At the end of those 2 years, you are out, and you have to operate under World Trade Organization rules.
No deal will be better than a bad deal.
Yes, you said that repeatedly. Yes. And it will be the final decision.
And if anybody's in any doubt, we are going to leave the European Union on the 29th of March 2019.
Wow.
I gotta tell you, I wouldn't trust these people as far as I could throw them. This is an embarrassment to living.
Talk about embarrassing. I have heard the name before, but I have no idea who this person is. I had to Google it, but people in the chat are telling me that R. Kelly and 2 females are dead. It says he's an American singer-songwriter. And I know people are probably going to laugh at me for not knowing who this is.
I know exactly who he is.
Because I've heard the name.
He's been in the news
but
all the time.
I don't know who he is.
He's a rapper.
Okay.
Because he molested kids and girls and stuff. So he's been, wow, that's big news.
Breaking news!
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so listen to this. Whether you're a Brexiteer or Remainer, this is a deal a nation signs only when it's been defeated by war.
That Michel Barnier, when he announced the 2-phase negotiation process, was issuing a declaration of hostilities against the government. She never even saw this coming. Because if I come to you and say, listen, let's have a little negotiation between us. First, you're going to give me everything I want. Secondly, we will discuss that which you want.
They can hear it. It's close
now,
enough.
You're a sensible young man. Clearly, you will say, no, mate, I'm not going to have a negotiation with you along those lines. Theresa May started that negotiation, and the result was...
Hey, come back, man.
Effectively, a deal which I will disagree with my fellow panelists here. Whether you are a Brexiteer or a Remainer, this is a deal that a nation signs only after...
Make it smaller. That a nation signs only after they've been defeated in war.
Hey, that's a really good punchline that you got to deliver.
I know. I know, right?
No, but that's really important. This deal, that it's a surrender document. I mean, it's like, I don't even know. It's you giving away everything.
We're trying out Mom's new laptop, and I don't know if it's going to be a winner. I don't know if it's going to be a winner.
Well, let's see if there are any other kinks.
That a nation signs only after having been defeated at war.
There you
go. This is
go.
not a deal which is fit for purpose for any sovereign country.
Yes, there is that. So, leave means leave, unless, man alive. Justin Worth a Look shared with me a link to an article that I don't have up right now, but it gave a a timeline on like where things would go from here, and it's absolutely incredibly crazy. I don't know if Michelle wants to try to bring that up or not.
What am I bringing up?
A message. I don't know if Justin sent it to you or not too. Latest article. Let's see.
Possibly, I can look.
Where we are now. What's going to happen now?
My computer's going slow too. It could just be an internet issue.
Where does Brexit go now? Where does Brexit go now? Look, everybody wants to know. Where does it go now? Okay, I don't think it was a BBC article. Go up. Maybe it was that one. Go down. Down, all the way to the bottom. Yeah. Yeah, it is BBC's. I guess it is. Okay. Go ahead and bring that up for people so they can see it. Where does Brexit go now? It's so confusing. It's hard to even put words to it because it's like 100 different things.
Do we need to watch is there a video you want us to watch?
Like how many?
344 votes to 286, a margin of 58.
Go ahead.
It means the UK has missed an EU deadline to delay Brexit to 22nd of May and leave with a deal. The Prime Minister said the UK would have to find an alternative way forward, which was almost certain to involve holding European elections. Thousands of Leave supporters gathered outside Parliament to protest against the delay to Brexit, bringing traffic to a standstill. Mrs May now has only until the 12th of April to seek a longer extension to the negotiation process to avoid a no-deal Brexit on that date. With a clear majority in the Commons against a no-deal Brexit and with MPs holding more votes on alternative plans on Monday, Mrs May said that the UK would have to find an alternative way forward. The Prime Minister said the outcome was a matter of profound regret, adding that, "I fear we are reaching the limits of this process in this House." Downing Street said that it was still not inevitably... I don't think they wanted that word there. That the UK would have to take part in the elections to the European Parliament in May. Inevitability. Yeah, that's right. I just read it wrong. It is highly likely that at least for another couple of weeks, Theresa May will look through every nook and cranny in Parliament to see if there's a way for her deal to pass through somehow. But that's a decision taken in the bunker and the walls are closing in. There's little reason tonight to think that in the end, the burning core of Euroscepticism in the Tory party will ever accept her deal. There are few signs that any more than a handful of Labour MPs are really going to take the plunge and ultimately walk through the same lobbies as Theresa May and Boris Johnson and Ian Duncan Smith. The Prime Minister concluded today that our political process is reaching its limits, but maybe soon it will be her leadership, her deal, that has passed its limits. A number 10 source indicated that the Prime Minister would continue to seek support in the Commons for her deal. Clearly, it was not the result we wanted, but that said, we have had a number of senior Conservative colleagues who have felt able to vote with the government today. They have done so in higher numbers than previously, the source said.
Okay, we're bored. Go down. Go.
Is this what
go,
you
go,
want?
go, go. There's a thing. There's a little chart.
Ah.
No.
Not that chart. It's a different chart.
There we go.
Okay.
Brexit next steps. Okay, so the MP... Go ahead.
MPs reject withdrawal agreement. Brexit date stays at
today.
The 12th of April.
So that's what happened today. Now, what happens on April 1st?
Second day of indicative votes.
And then if there's a clear result...
Will Theresa May accept the plan?
And if she does, then the government tries to implement the decision, possible further extension. If she doesn't, you're over at the no. If there's no clear result, you can
cancel Brexit. Oh my. No deal Brexit or further extension. The UK takes part in an EU election.
Which would mean a further vote on May deal, renegotiation, referendum, general election, and cancel Brexit are all on the table there still too. So, all right. Wow. This is Nigel Farage at the rally here. So I don't want anybody to lose hope, because as long as somebody's standing up, you're not going to lose, because it's, as I told Justin, I said, this is really good, because what it goes to show the people is that they don't have a democracy. What they have is we're going to try to encourage you to vote the way we want you to do, the way we want you to vote, so that it appears that we have a democracy. But if you don't, you're still going to do what we want you to do.
Right.
So you're literally stuck in a box. You're allowed 5 choices, all the choices that they give you. Because what the UK is accusing the EU of doing is exactly what the Parliament is doing. And why? Because it's a socialist mindset.
Yeah.
It is a leftist mindset that says, I want what I want, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says or does.
Right.
Forget democracy.
Yeah.
Forget what everybody else says. And what they have done year after year after year after year is to convince the people to vote in the direction that they want.
Right.
And so what Theresa May has done is so conniving and so sly.
She's good at it, too.
Because even a Rees-Mogg would believe her that she would resign after, you know what I mean? That it's like you want to hang on. You want to believe. People who don't lie just continue to believe people who lie.
I want to know what it is about a no-deal Brexit that has the majority against it.
Because it's a real Brexit.
Exactly.
Because it's real. If they can control it, then they're not. They want, the majority doesn't want Brexit. That's why they voted down May's deal, not because they felt like it was a bad deal. Okay.
2 years is actually one of the saddest and worst chapters in the history of our nation. What they want is to beat us down. What they want is us to give up. What they want is us to go away. Well, let me tell you, am I today on March the 29th, downcast? Am I disheartened? No. No. I am more determined to fight back against this political
He's more determined than ever. And I have to tell you, the prospect of him going back to the European Union, I know he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
However, he's willing and ready to do it.
Right.
And that has got to give him a little bit of, you know, at least there's an alternative here. I can go and lambast, and I can convince other countries maybe to leave. Nigel Farage said how glad he was that Theresa May's withdrawal agreement had been voted down for a 3rd time in Parliament.
So it's good. If Nigel's happy about it, then I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I knew it was the right thing. But he said the last 2 years have been one of the saddest and worst chapters in history in our nation. He shared this earlier, and we just shared this when he just arrived. In Parliament Square.
Britt Baza says, Michelle, the MPs are voting against the electorate because all MPs want a job as a faceless bureaucrat in the EU that gets them millions of pounds per year. They are career politicians, not in it for us.
So what he told the rally, I'm going to reiterate, when he joked he was meeting in enemy territory in Westminster that the British public is more with us now than they've ever been. There's a clear lead for us to leave on the 12th of April with no deal. Let's hope and pray that happens.
Yes.
But I'm sorry to say I fear that the betrayal we have seen over today's date will probably be repeated on the 12th of April. But let's not be disheartened. I tell you what, if that means we have to fight the European elections on the 23rd of May, let me tell you, I will fight them. And if they force us to fight a second referendum, we will beat them by a bigger margin. This is about our country. This is about our nation. This is about our democracy. It's about who we are as a people, what we stand for, what those who came before us sacrificed. It's about our children, grandchildren growing up and being proud to be British. I like this guy. I believe in Brexit. Look at him. Racist.
That is so awesome.
Racist.
All right, so I missed some comments in the on Facebook Live, so let me get to a couple of those here. That just turned itself off.
Okay.
The battery might have died. I can plug it in.
Oh.
Let's see. Leah, sounds like your head is clogged. Get better, Patricia says. Let's see. Craig Trump says the Conservative Party has betrayed their votes and will pay for it at the next general election. Kate Catanella says World Trade, the WTO is pretty awful too. That was pushed through under the Clinton administration. Anyone remember the riot in Seattle? People took to the tweets streets, I think she means.
It's not great, but it's...
Like the Yellow Vest to defeat it. World Trade and NAFTA destroyed U.S. jobs which were sent overseas for cheap labor and fattening the corporate pockets.
I'm glad that you pointed that out. But under World Trade Organization rules, that's not designed to be the treaty. That's designed to be the backstop, and then they'll build from there.
Exactly.
Let's see. I think...
St. Mark says, if I was the sovereign, I would just dissolve Parliament and run Brexit myself. Parliament is a joke. I don't think that they're allowed to do that. I think William and Mary are the ones that kind of shifted things there a little bit. I'm saying.
Yeah. Let me see. I want to play this. This is, and I hate John Bolton, but he's speaking for Trump here. And he says President Trump is eager for the will of the British people to be carried out. So I want you to hear what he has to say here.
Worry about the UK crashing out of the European Union. That's the phrase they use. They're going to crash right into the United States. We're standing here waiting to make a trade deal with the United Kingdom independent of the European Union. I don't want to get into the specifics of what's been going on in the House of Commons, but I can say unequivocally that President Trump is
I can switch this out.
No, that's for your mouse.
I can switch it out to this other one. You don't have to go as far.
To do a trade deal.
I don't know if you guys were able to hear that.
Well, as I understand it, if you don't have the ability to make your own rules, if you're still subject to Brussels, then you're not independent. But it really is quite important to the president, I think, so that people in Britain know that this is the top of the priority. This is not the Obama administration where Britain...
To the back of the queue, which of course is not an American phrase. Britain will be at the top of the queue for us.
Nigel Farage describes this as a day of shame for Britain and called for a revolution. Is he right?
I think Britain had a referendum. I think the Leave vote won, and what everybody agrees was a free and fair election. Doesn't the will of the British people get to be carried out?
Is it a shameful moment?
I don't really want to get into that. I think it's a very difficult moment. I think everybody in Britain agrees it. All I can say is the American people want to help the British people. When your independence comes, we want a trade deal.
All right, so...
Sorry if you didn't hear most of it, but basically... the first thing he said was, they're not going to, if they crashed out of the European Union, it's not going to be a hard crash. They'll crash right into the United States.
Oh,
we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine. We're
going to put you at the front of the queue.
Yeah.
Let's see. Abominable Snowman says they said that 500,000 jobs would be lost in financial service sector. 2,000 were actually lost. Project Fear gets the spotlight shown on it while the truth dies in the dark.
Right.
Let's see. Resistance Chick's mom, Patriot Gallery, says, if Adam Schiff should step down for lying for over 2 years on purpose, Theresa May should be arrested for purposefully lying and absolutely refusing to do the Brexit.
Treason.
It's treason. And any co-conspirators in all of Europe for refusing the democratic process and becoming dictators. It's the right thing to do, or the people become Monica Lewinsky. Jack Russell says Brexit will happen eventually. The EU's agenda is well out of the bag now.
Awesome. I think you're right about that. And with having this cold or whatever I've got, in one of my little homeopathic books, she says that a fever, if you have a fever, if your child has a fever, it's actually a good thing. Because what a fever does is your body gets hot enough and it will kill the viruses or the bacteria. So fevers are good. So you don't want to give kids, if you can help it, something that will just mask the fever. Unless it's like really high for a kid. And or for an adult. Adults actually, just in case you didn't know, kids run hotter than adults.
I think
so
everybody knows that.
Child with like 101,
it's not
as bad as an adult with 101. Right. So she said she was running 105 fever in my homeopathic book, and she couldn't get the fever to break. So she had her husband put all the blankets in the house on her and lay on top of her, and she sweated, and then the fever broke.
Right.
And so what happens is you've been sick for a while. And so when it heats up and Donald Tusk comes out and says, you need to honor the people who signed the petition. He just said that, or he said there was 5 or 6 million people who marched the other day.
Oh my gosh. And that's been debunked. It was literally what, like 400,000?
It was less than that, like 300,000 people, not even 500,000. And so they lied about that. And so you see the EU, their masks are coming off, and the same thing's happening here in America.
Right.
It's heating up. and our fever is about to break. And so the more that they show who they are, the hotter it gets, and then it will break.
Yeah.
And this is from one of the most respected figures in British economics, has made a last-minute appeal for Brexit sanity, pointing the way forward to a managed no-deal full Brexit, while dismissing politicians suffering from collective nervous breakdown and Project Fear claims that do not reflect reality. Speaking this morning, just hours before the legal deadline that the British Prime Minister repeatedly promised would be the moment the United Kingdom left the European Union, before changing her mind at the last minute, the former governor,
she's a liar.
The former governor of the Bank of England, Mervyn King, has called for a full Brexit and for politicians to reject Theresa May's withdrawal agreement.
It depends whether we prepared for it properly. If we had prepared properly...
But at this stage, we know where we are.
Well, it depends when we leave. My own personal preference would be to go back to Europe and say, we have a clear strategy, which is we want to leave without a deal, but we would like to take 6 months to complete the preparations to avoid the dislocation.
So 6 months delay, in other words.
I think we'd have to take advice from the government and officials as to how long they now think it would take before our country is ready to leave without a deal.
Could you really do that in 6 months?
Well, it depends on how far the preparations have got, and the government hasn't been as explicit about that as they might. And what matters is that everyone in the country knows about it. We don't.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of, you know, how the Republicans had forever to come up with an alternative to Obamacare.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
And then they kept stalling. It's like, okay, is everybody like some sort of college student that like is doing some sort of crashing, like crash study course the night before the exam? I mean, that's exactly what's happened here. I mean, you had 2 years. And the reason why they weren't able to put together anything was because the focus was always on canceling Brexit to start with. That's why they didn't come up with anything.
Lord King, he was governor of the United Kingdom Central Bank for 10 years.
Wow.
Okay? He has been absolutely scathing of Britain's political class in his remarks to the BBC, which, despite being made on the UK state broadcaster's flagship politics show, have been mostly ignored by the British mainstream media. He was, you know, a smart guy here. And he says, when you hear about people talking about the consequences of leaving without a deal as national suicide, I wonder whether the political class has suffered a collective nervous breakdown and lost confidence in the country. Criticizing the government's failure to negotiate with the European Union, and in particular hobbling itself with the unwillingness to keep no deal on the table as a credible option, Lord King said the way forward now was, and then you heard the 6 months. And he says, yeah, we can do this. We can make this happen. And so we are going to talk more about this on Sunday.
Yeah.
But I had to bring this to you guys today. We have so much news to go through, so I want to kind of, move on here from this.
Well, there's nothing else to tell at this point. I mean, we literally were supposed to leave. You have your little hanky there.
No, this is me just kind of...
Okay. We were supposed to leave. And you like how I say we? Because I totally feel like we're in this with you guys.
You are my brothers and sisters across
we were supposed to leave today. We didn't. Her vote failed again. The BBC seems to think that she's not going to be able to recover those 58, votes, the margin, to really get this deal passed. Although I'm kind of scared because originally when what was the gap when it was first put forward? It was massive. And people keep like giving in, which is to me a very scary sign. I got to be honest with you, but there's nothing else to tell right now.
Yeah. Right. So, we'll move on. Moving on here because this has been like boggling my mind all week long. Okay, so it turns out...
Do we have the footage of the press conference to play? Do we have clips of that?
You should go ahead and look for some clips on Twitter. Chicago mayor calls out Jussie Smollett. I'm sure there's a couple good clips of that. But I think that a lot of our viewers have kept up on it.
Yeah, but
so, in case you haven't.
Some people don't. They wait for Resistance Chicks.
So, if you didn't know...
And it's worth watching again.
If you guys didn't know, Jussie Smollett staged a hate hoax. Okay?
I think they know that much.
Well, he's still saying that. He still came out of there saying that it happened. And his lawyer's now saying that the black guys must have had white face on. And it's absolutely crazy. And he was ordered to pay $10,000 to give up his $10,000 bond, and he was good on community service because he had done some. So
whatever.
Go ahead and after that,
I just have one. I don't know which part.
You'll find more. But there's plenty. I understand. We got to back it up. Let's back it up a little. I understand.
Wait a minute. Let me switch over here. Is Mom asking me to read comments? Mom, if you're banging, I
Mama,
have to get back
bang,
to
bang,
him.
bang. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
It's Mr. Smollett who committed this hoax. Period. If he wanted to clear his name, the way to do that was in a court of law, so that everyone could see the evidence. You all know what the bond prophet said. You know, we all know what it said. So, you know, I stand by the facts of what we produced. If they want to dispute those facts, then the place to do that is in court, not the secret.
Sir, I want to say one other thing.
They can't hear it.
And I want to remind
turned up.
This is not the superintendent's word against his. The grand jury, a sliver of the evidence, and they came to a conclusion, as did the state's attorney's office. This is not the superintendent and the wrong in this case. This is an unbelievable, not just whitewash of justice, this is a person now who's been let off scot-free with no sense of accountability of the moral and ethical wrong of his action.
Wow. So, there's that. And then Patriot Gallery said that she has a comment. Wait, let me get to it. Let's see. The right to dissolve a government that has become absolute tyranny is the rightful duty and responsibility of a civilized people. God says the Declaration of Independence, Jesus, good men, liberation. You really can't be bound to a tyrannical government. That's John Locke talks about. You have the responsibility to throw off such a government.
You do. You absolutely do, and that's why we stand behind you 100%. It's the American Revolution 2.0, baby. So I wanted you to see this as he's coming out.
Right after the stunning decision by prosecutors,
Super cool.
Jussie Smollett claimed vindication.
Awesome.
I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one.
Liar.
Charges were dropped in exchange for community service and forfeiting $10,000 bail.
I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I've been accused of.
The about face was a slap in the face for Police Chief Eddie Johnson.
It's Mr. Smollett who committed this hoax. Period. If he wanted to clear his name, the way to do that was in a court of law so that everyone could see the evidence.
Mayor Rahm Emanuel was even harsher.
This is without a doubt a whitewash of justice and sends a clear message that if you're in a position of influence and power, you'll get treated one way, other people will be treated another way. There is no accountability then in the system.
The dropped charges come just over 2 weeks after prosecutors laid out 16 felony counts against him, punishable by up to 3 years in prison for allegedly lying to police when he told them he was attacked by 2 white men who hurled racist and homophobic slurs. But it was these 2 brothers who admitted under oath that Smollett told them to do it.
What do you say to people who believe he's getting preferential treatment?
He's not.
Lead prosecutor Joseph McGatz dropped the charges, calling it common practice for nonviolent first-time defendants.
Our priority is violent crimes and the drivers of violence. Jussie Smollett is neither one of those.
Does dropping the charges vindicate him?
No.
Does it exonerate him?
No.
Do you believe that he is innocent?
I do not believe he's innocent.
So you believe he's guilty?
Yes.
But that's not how the actor played it in front of the cameras, leaving court without having to admit he did anything wrong. Even though Smollett forfeited $10,000 in bond money, Chicago police tell us they spent over $150,000 on his case. And a source tells us that the mayor is considering suing Smollett to try to recoup some of that money. Jeff?
What a great interview with that prosecutor, Adriana. What a case, what a decision. Thank you very much.
It was a good interview because she got him to say, no, he's guilty as all get out. How many of you think that if you were a first-time offender, that you had 16 felony accounts?
Yeah.
Felony accounts.
He was indicted by a grand
jury. Guess what? That prosecutor said, our job is to prosecute violence. No. If I cheat on my taxes, it's a non-violent crime.
Exactly. And the police
it's
will
a
come
felony.
and
They
will
will come and take me to jail.
Yeah.
They're not going to drop those charges.
Unbelievable.
Okay? Was Cohen a non-violent offender?
Right.
Yes. Was Manafort a non-violent offender? It's not your job to decide what crimes you think should be prosecuted because you think some are violent and some are not. Now, I'm going to tell you this.
Is stealing from somebody a violent crime? Like stealing their money or something?
Exactly.
It's not exactly violence.
And I tell you what, that this woman, Fox, she said she recused herself, but she didn't. She said, and it was a political term, she is friends with Michelle Obama. He's friends with the Obamas.
Jussie is. There's pictures of him everywhere.
Well, they sent out an internal memo that got leaked that said, could you please give us some instances where we would have let somebody go like this? Oh, my God. Poor Cindy's crying upstairs. I don't know if you can...
Okay, but before I do, Patriot Gallery says Flynn, Papadopoulos, Rodgers, Stone, if they got jailed just for lying, Smollett better get in trouble.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
This is absolute ridiculousness.
Non-violent crimes? Really? Are you kidding me?
They want to get conservatives off social media by throwing trolls, putting discriminatory comments. They limit comments to 30% discriminatory. Millie Weaver has reported that. That's what Patriot Gallery says.
Yeah, we can talk about that too.
Let me ask you this, man. Was the full picture painted? Was the full picture painted by the evidence perhaps not as compelling as what was presented to the grand jury?
It was compelling enough. Well, wait a second. The evidence presented to the grand jury is what brought the charges.
But did new questions arise in the subsequent weeks from more evidence that might be out there?
That's not what the state's attorney just said today. They said, in fact, the police did a good job and the evidence holds up, and he actually did commit the hoax. They're saying $10,000 and 2 days of community service is good enough. And I don't believe, not only is it not good enough, especially when he's walking around thinking that he is actually innocent, not guilty, and B, he's innocent not only legally,
Bubby,
in a criminal justice sense.
I'm right here,
he
Bub.
is also guilty, in my view,
I'm right here.
of a moral crime, which is to use the hate crimes to advance his own career for selfish reasons. And that, to me, is where there's a moral violation and a rip, because he went out and spoke on ABC to the country as an African-American and a gay man about being a victim of a crime. And then what comes forward, and what we actually now know to be the case, and even the state's attorney today acknowledged, is the fact is that was all a hoax. And there's a moral violation, let alone a violation of the code of criminal justice, that here's a person who now believes with $10,000, 2 days of community service at Operation Push, the slate is clean, and he did nothing wrong. In fact, his word is true. And I'm just telling you, if he was anybody else, and this is what is upsetting people in the city and around the country, he has one law or one kind of standard of accountability, and everybody else gets another. And that's wrong.
Picture, let me ask you this.
Exactly. He can still face federal charges.
Because of the mail fraud.
Yeah, exactly. So Laura Ingraham had on...
And you know what? That's another point that prosecutor said, this is standard for a first-time offender. Well, from where I sit, he's a second-time offender. You just didn't catch him the first time.
Wow.
The first time he sent his mail fraud in the mail,
exactly.
A self-threat, okay, which was whatever.
With a powdery substance in it.
With a powdery substance.
I
That's
don't
your
care whether you
first-time
send
offense.
it to yourself or whether you send it to somebody else. It's
and then
still
when
a
that
crime.
wasn't enough, okay, it's kind of like anybody that would commit a crime.
Mm-hmm.
You go to rob a store and you rob something small or whatever, and then that's not enough, and that was your first offense.
Right.
It doesn't get to be grouped together like you're being charged.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. Well, I was going to try to bring that one up, but I'm going to tell you what's happening to him now.
Okay.
Chicago warns Jussie Smollett, repay $130,000 in 7 days or face prosecution for lying. The city of Chicago on Thursday announced Empire actor Jussie Smollett that he could be prosecuted for lying if he fails to repay the six-figure cost of the Chicago Police Department's investigation into his alleged hate hoax in the next 7 days.
Wow.
In a letter written by Edward Siskel, he can get that like that. He knows everybody. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel's senior legal advisor Smollett is accused of making false statements, which, and you know what, if he pays it, he's going to admit to being guilty. Exactly. So then he's like a triple liar. Right. Which led law enforcement to divert resources from other, and that would give him a day of court. You got to prove yourself innocent, right? I'm not going to pay it, but if you pay it, it's not extortion. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But the Trump campaign, but that's not what happened. What happened is the FBI.
I'm not watching Rush. That's not what I'm trying to do. This is supposed to be the Laura Ingraham angle with Jussie Smollett. I wanted to play. Not you, not you, not you, you. Let's see.
But you have to earn respect to win the votes. And you're only going to do that. Right. We've learned that the controversial prosecutor, Kim Foxx, actually did not recuse herself in the case, despite reports that she interfered in the investigation. Okay? A spokeswoman said, quote, "The state's attorney did not formally recuse herself or the office based on any actual conflict of interest. As a result, she did not have to seek the appointment of a special prosecutor under state law." All right, on top of that, today, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel sent Smollett a letter demanding that he pay the city $130,000 in next week to help cover the costs of the police investigation into the fake attack.
His recommendation is when he writes the check, in the memo section, he can put the word, "I'm accountable," for the hoax.
Well, joining me now is Martin Freed. He's the vice president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. All right, $130,000. That's Rahm's bill to Jussie. Is that enough?
No, that's not enough. It would have been much better if the mayor joined in.
Where he actually sounded reasonable and really smart on this issue. Now it's got to get back to hating Trump, because actually this hate crime was really created by Trump. And that's kind of implicit in what he's saying there, Martin.
Well, I mean, you said that, yes, and I'm not going to disagree with you. And like I said, when the Obama Justice Department was running things, he was all in favor of them coming into Chicago, initiating investigation that we didn't think was justified based upon false assumptions. It was a kind of a ludicrous investigation. Trump's DOJ said, no, we're not going to put us in a consent decree, but he and the state attorney general put it in, and now he doesn't want the Trump DOJ to investigate what clearly is something that cries out for an investigation. What happened here? What were the motives of things?
It's unbelievable. I mean, this is one of the more unreal things that I've ever witnessed when it comes to criminal justice in the country, and I've been around a long time reporting on this. Martin, I also want to get your response to the outrageous allegation by Smollett's attorney today. Now, she has a wild new theory about why those two Nigerian brothers were implicated in the attack.
Obviously, you can disguise that. You could put makeup on. There is actually, interestingly enough, a video. You know, I think police did minimal investigation in this case. It took me all of 5 minutes to Google. You know, I was looking up the brothers, and one of the first videos that showed up actually was one of the brothers in whiteface doing a Joker monologue with white makeup on. And so it's not implausible.
Okay, Martin, does she really think you all in the Chicago PD are that dumb? So now the Nigerian brothers were in whiteface? That's the new thing they're going with?
Well, does she really care about the Chicago PD? I mean, the rest of the country is getting a view into the criminal justice system in Chicago. But if you're a Chicago police officer, these kinds of wild, outrageous things happen all the time. You know, we've been railing about Kim Foxx for a long time on cases we think are much more scandalous. Right. For example, the exoneration of convicted killers, what we think are just totally baseless arguments, who go out and then file multi-million-dollar lawsuits against the detectives who did the case, who investigated the case. Wow. Imagine being a detective. Yeah. Imagine being a detective in this case. You painstakingly investigated a hate crime. And now they're turning, you know, they're ridiculing you. They're making a laughing stock out of the cities, out of the police officers. It's outrageous.
But it's beyond outrageous. But she has an anti-police mentality. Deep in her bones, anti-police. And I agree with you on the Obama consent decrees that handcuff police officers across this country. And by the way, everyone should know this. On Monday, and we'll be covering it on Monday, On Monday, there's going to be a big police protest.
Wow.
The police union is going to have a protest against Kim Foxx. You see the details there, 69 West Washington. And it's got at 11 in the morning, April Fool's Day, but it's not going to be a joke. So you're going to get a big turnout there, do you think, Martin?
We hope so. Our first vice president, Pat Murray's putting it together. He's doing a great job. The members, are outraged about this case, and they're finally happy that the national media is looking at it. And, Chicago's crying out for some really good investigative journalism. It really is.
Martin, thank you so much. We really appreciate your joining us and what the Chicago PD do. Thank you so much.
So, you guys, did you hear what he said? That she has let off, murderers. Okay, this isn't the first time that she's done this. And so I had no idea. I hadn't seen this clip. I love that they're going to be holding a giant FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, protest on April 1st, and Laura Ingraham says they're going to be covering it, and I'm eager to see, because you can only imagine what it's like when you put your job is to put hours and hours and hours of investigation painstakingly, and you come up with your case and you present it, and you want justice to be served. And then this is literally like Gotham City all over again. That's what I'm saying. I'm just watching this play out, where the cops are trying to do the right thing, but the higher ups are being bought off. It's absolute ridiculousness. Now, earlier, Patriot Gallery had a comment. I want to see if I can get back. I don't know how far ago it was. She says he was trying to start a riot, and that's a huge crime. He wanted to start riots, civil war, much more, including murder, death, chaos, etc. And that's the truth. You need to understand the nature of his crime was to incite race violence. That's a really big deal. I live in Cincinnati. I don't live in Cincinnati, but Cincinnati is our closest big city. And we've had racial issues in downtown Cincinnati that were covered worldwide, because it's such a big deal. The violence the potential for violence that is there is a ticking bomb. And that's what he was trying to incite there. And I think that Patriot Gallery is right that he should be in trouble just for that alone.
And he can still face federal charges.
And like Leah says, he can still face federal charges.
Yeah, he can still go to jail because of the,
Let's see. Podum says she said that she knew family members of the victim family. How stupid is she? A prosecutor. She's a prosecutor and doesn't differentiate victim/perpetrator/defendant.
The Illinois Prosecutors Bar Association has condemned Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx for handling of Jussie Smollett's case, calling her dismissal of the charges in public statements unethical and misleading. The statement, issued on behalf of the 1,000 members, disputes Fox's claim that the case was handled in a typical fashion, and that it was a deferred prosecution.
No.
The events of the past few days regarding Jussie's Foxx handling of Jussie Smollett's case is not condoned by this organization, nor is it representative of honest ethical work prosecutors provide to the citizens of the state of Illinois on a daily basis. The manner in which this case was dismissed was abnormal and unfamiliar to those who practice law in criminal courthouses across the state. Prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges alike do not recognize the arrangement Mr. Smollett received. Even more problematic, the state's attorney and her representatives have fundamentally misled the public on the law and the circumstances surrounding the dismissal, meaning it better be the same kind of deal we get.
Yeah.
If we do a hoax and send things and, things in the
mail. Well, the precedence that this sets, I think, is, everybody's going to be everybody's going to be citing Jussie Smollett the next time they go get in trouble for doing something.
And the fact that the state's attorney has claimed that the arrangement is available to all defendants and not a new or unusual practice is a lie. So, the rest of that interview, she has on another DOJ official who says that, Foxx can be investigated because if it's found that she got anything in return for this, then she can go to jail for up to 20 years.
Although, do you think that she did get anything in return? Do you think she's that stupid?
I don't know. They are pretty stupid. But why is this important? Why are we covering this so closely? Because even Raul Emanuel says that this is not on the level.
Yeah.
And Obama's from Chicago. These are Chicago's people. I mean, these are Obama's people. This is D.C. on steroids. This is where you see the level of corruption where it's out in front for everyone to see.
Right.
And it's so good because if they didn't do this and if he got justice, like I said, people might not realize that they need to start fighting the infection.
Yeah.
But they see now. The entire city of Chicago sees and is embarrassed at this infection.
You know what else I think, though? Even in Chicago, or I should say, even the police in Chicago are going to tend to be left-leaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of where they're at.
Right.
But because of the constant pushing against police officers by the left, the hatred. I mean, this is really good news. We're going to see, and probably already have seen, a lot of red-pilled police officers in the most, left-leaning states and cities in our entire country. And that's good news.
That is good news.
When these kind of things happen, don't get discouraged. I don't care what happens to Jussie Smollett. Honestly, whether he goes to jail or not does not affect me, and it doesn't affect the rest of society from he needs to be put in jail so he doesn't hurt other people kind of thing. But what this has done is actually, I hate to say this, it's really good news.
It is good news.
Because it has exposed their hand. If he had received justice, if he had gone to jail, then you would be like, well, okay, maybe those people in Washington aren't that, that bad. And the hires up in Chicago, they're real people. They see, even though they agreed with Jussie Smollett and have the same political leanings, they had justice that was, like somebody just said in the comment here, Fox has ties to George Soros. This is an
George
inside...
Soros gave her close to $500,000 to run that.
Yeah.
To run it for him.
Right.
So you have George Soros, Obama's, look at this. Michelle Obama's ex-chief of staff admits she did try to intervene in the Smollett investigation. After evidence came to light that the former chief of staff of Michelle Obama had attempted to intervene on behalf of the Smollett family to get the investigation turned over to the FBI, the ex-aide, prominent Chicago attorney Tina Tekin has now gone on the record to confirm that she did contact the state's attorney, whose office eventually let Smollett off the hook. So she is connected to Michelle Obama.
Wow.
So this came down from the Obamas. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Who still think that they run the country.
Exactly.
How was it determined that Fox got $400,000? Kelly Craig wants to know on Facebook Live.
I don't know.
Kelly Craig says every single case she's prosecuted could be overturned. Let me guess, whiteface isn't racist, just blackface is.
All right. So Donald Trump actually had something to say.
At his rally.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, though? Because he's kind of taking this victory lap.
Yeah.
Because of the Mueller investigation. But it goes hand in hand because here you see Smollett let off the hook. Literally, there's evidence against him. A grand jury indicts him, 16 counts. Okay, he's literally let off the hook. And then you see the left crying, Trump was
absolutely
let off
no
the hook
evidence.
with zero evidence.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it does go hand in hand.
Exactly. So here's Trump. Last night, if you guys didn't see that rally, he was on fire.
America.
Look at his little cocky face.
And it's getting to be that time. Very important. MAGA country. You heard the other day? How about in Chicago? He said,
here it comes.
He said he was attacked by MAGA country. Did you ever hear that one? MAGA country. Maybe the only time I've ever agreed with the mayor of Chicago. Maybe. That's a terrible situation. That's an embarrassment not only to Chicago, that is an embarrassment to our country, what took place there. Remember that.
Look at he does really be flexible. Because like the
But
way he
they're
holds
looking at it. So we're delighted to be joined this evening by some really incredible people that...
Okay, so what I really took away from the people, listen to the people booing.
Yeah.
The mainstream media isn't playing the fact that everyone at that rally is upset about being implicated for being part of a hate crime or being violent.
Thank you.
If anybody cheered it on, that's the way they paint Trump supporters.
Right.
But they didn't say, nobody brings out the nuance here.
Right.
Is that Trump supporters aren't doing this.
Yeah.
They don't, that they're painted to be these hateful people.
Right.
And
they're so not hateful that the left has to come up with hoaxes to make us seem hateful.
Exactly. And like Patriot Gallery said,
it's embarrassing.
I bet Obama put Smollett up to this. I don't think it was about money or about getting fame to divide the country and blame it on Trump.
Yeah.
Okay. But they didn't get away with it.
Right.
And the trap that they're doing for all of us.
It's just like the Bible says, the snare that they have laid for you, they will fall in themselves.
Yeah. So Donald Trump, he's going to. I have to play this for you. I'm going to play this clip, but it does say it's actually written in the speech. He says the SHIT word. So just
warning.
I'm warning you now.
For children in the room.
He's got his tongue stuck.
Have to now decide whether they will continue defrauding the public with ridiculous bullshit.
There it is. I think he's upset. What do you think?
That was written in the teleprompter.
Is it really?
Yeah, you read it.
Partisan investigations, or whether they will apologize to the American people and join us to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, bring down the cost of health care and prescription drugs, which we're doing incredibly, help us fix our broken trade deals, which are coming along really well. We have our team right now in China. They just arrived. China!
He's so hilarious.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the next half of our show, which basically should be the show forever and ever and ever for the next couple months, as we unravel the fact that we now have to, and he is going to go after the investigators. Now, think about this. And all these people were like, Donald Trump, why isn't he building the wall? And Donald Trump, why isn't he doing this? Well, literally, with two hands tied behind your back, that's what he was. And he couldn't fire Rosenstein, and he couldn't fire anybody because of the investigation. But now he's freed. Okay?
If it weren't for the investigation, Flynn never would have been fired.
As Alex Jones said, he is going to come out on all firing on all cylinders. And what Patriot Gallery was talking about with that 30% of the trolls, Alex Jones was reported on Instagram for anti-Semitism. I don't know what the picture was. I just heard him talking about it. And it was by this liberal artist or whatever. It wasn't anti-Semitic. We know Alex Jones is anti-Semitic. He's actually very pro-Israel. And there's an intercept of a messaging between like Facebook executives, and I don't know how it worked out. I don't know what he was talking about. But maybe Millie got it or something. But I know the bottom line is this. Right now, they are reporting people for what is said in their comments.
Right.
And
Patriot Gallery said it well. It's a trap. They are sending trolls onto conservative sites, making a lot of discriminatory comments. If it's more than 30%, you get kicked off for discriminating or hating.
Exactly. So what the trolls do is they create their own accounts. They say horrible, awful things. Then they report their own comment, and they get it. They know the number is 30%. So they just have to get up to 30%.
Well, and here's the good news for us, and that is that our channel is small enough and the chat is low enough that our moderators can stay on top of it. But I think of like a chat like on, News Wars or something that has, thousands of people watching and constantly commenting. You would need like 50 moderators to stay on top of the people that get on there and just say stupid stuff.
Right, exactly. So also, Michael Avenatti was arrested this week. We haven't been with you since Michael Avenatti was arrested for blackmailing Nike. The FBI got him on the phone. That's really fun. Do you know how many times Michael Avenatti was paraded around CNN? Don Lemon, as Tucker says, took his little selfie picture off of him with Avenatti.
Finally.
Who thought he could run.
Well, hang on, though, because there's another link here to the Smollett case, and that's that Smollett's lawyer is in with Avenatti on this Nike deal here.
Right.
Off what was otherwise a great week, we had a little extra fun with Michael Avenatti.
And he can say that because this guy, went around saying horrible things about the Trumps.
He's
and
gone
lies.
to jail for a long time, it seems. I remember, and I'm old enough to remember about 4 weeks ago when CNN saying, Michael, we're going to take you very seriously as a presidential contender. That's how deranged they are. That's how much they hate Trump. That this clown was a real contender. But what's nice about this week is that it went from Avenatti 2020 to Avenatti 2025. Maybe 50. Who knows? Seems like he did a lot of bad stuff.
That's really funny.
It's so funny when you listen to John Jr. Every once in a while, you can hear a little bit of Trump in there.
And he does
You
a
know,
little bit
seems
of
like he's done a lot of bad stuff.
He actually is way more articulate than his dad. It's totally.
No, he does really well. Mike Skidmore says Avenatti was going to run for president at one time. Avenatti has been living on millions he has made from Ponzi schemes.
I do actually have to. Okay, so here's. I'm not done with Avenatti, just real quick, because he got paraded around everywhere. It just goes to show you the having Avenatti on is like Alex Jones keeping David Steele on, who said that there were
aliens on Mars.
Child sex trafficking on Mars.
Right. Yeah.
And Alex has people on, and he doesn't censor them.
Right.
And he didn't have him on after that. But CNN kept having Avenatti on, even after what he did to Kavanaugh and his craziness there. Everybody knows that he's the creepy porn lawyer, and now he definitely is the creepy porn lawyer. He's going to go to jail. So what I want you guys to see with this is I don't want to just brush over this because we're seeing some justice happen. The traps that they're setting. You know what? If he hadn't have gone out there and put his name out there and got this big head, he wouldn't be going to jail.
Right.
This is a crime that he committed just now.
Right.
Like he didn't need to go to jail, but he got away with so much that he finally fell in it.
On Facebook here, Patricia Ann says, Steve Bannon said now that Trump has been cleared, he will go full animal against his enemies.
He will, and this is so exciting, and God will. Okay, sometimes I picture like a Rocky movie where there's a moment where he gets beat, and he gets beat, and he gets beat, and then all of a sudden starts to fight back. And that's what's going to happen. So here's some photos. CNN host Don Lemon and April Ryan drinking and partying and dancing with Avenatti. Wow. CNN interviewed Avenatti hundreds of times last year. Avenatti is being charged with multiple federal crimes today. Remember, this is when CNN claims to be objective. Flashback. What is Avenatti's 2020 primary strategy?
Get arrested.
Understandably, Avenatti's arrest, which seemingly came out of nowhere, was a lot to process for the pundit set. And no one articulated this sense of frustration and utter embarrassment better than MSNBC anchor Ali Velshi, who said on Monday afternoon that his head was officially going to explode.
But for all intents and purposes, Stormy Daniels' former attorney faces significant federal legal trouble going forward.
My head is officially going to explode. I don't understand what this is about. Let's just and I know you've had a little chance to go through some of it. I know how you work. You don't like to shoot from the hip on this stuff. But this seems to have something to do with threatening the company with his ability to garner publicity, which he may be one of the finest people in America in terms of his ability to garner publicity, and that would inflict damage or reputational harm on the company. Do we know what this is about?
That's right. So apparently, and again, we're still going through this, but apparently Avenatti stated in substance and in part, and I'm quoting from court documents here, that he had approached Nike because he knew that the annual NCAA basketball tournament, March Madness, an event of significance to Nike and its brand, were about to begin, and further because he was aware that Nike's quarterly earnings call were scheduled for March 21st. Apparently, there was a March 20 call that Michael Avenatti had that law enforcement had monitored. During that call, and at the direction of law enforcement, Attorney 1, who's unidentified, asked CC1, typically, Mimi, correct me if I'm wrong, a cooperating co-conspirator 1, for more time to consider the demands made by Michael Avenatti, the defendant, and cooperating co-conspirator 1 the day before, and or another in-person meeting to discuss demands. The cooperating co-conspirator, who stated at the time that he would speak to Avenatti to discuss the possibility of delaying the deadline for Nike's response to the claims that Michael Avenatti was apparently going to make. There's numerous phone calls here that apparently...
phone calls. You just caught, baby. This is just one of those days.
Mom, I have no idea what you're trying to say here. What is she trying to say? What is this word? It looks like abracadabra. I don't know. She says, wall countries, every person are weak as long as they are... there are evil satanic globalists trying to kill us and enslave us, at least whoever is
ever
left.
Yes.
She says, plus the fiat dollar is a racketeering scam. It's a con. We're going to get back to normal money, gold and silver coins, the only way we can trust each other ever again.
Praise be to the Lord. This is our way out. Okay, Rand Paul. Now we're going to go back
hang on. It's a name. She was trying to quote a name.
It's a person.
I get
it's
it.
A plane. It's an airplane. Yeah. I listened to Lynette today. She said it's getting closer and closer. Yeah, that's a whole other train. A whole other Federal Reserve. My brain can't go there right now. I love to go there. That's where I live.
Mike said, I read that Avenatti kept $4 million from a paralyzed client.
Oh, my word.
There are so many stories like that. There's no way to corroborate them and find out if they're 100% true. But the fact that there are so many stories like that, sad.
Right. Okay, so... now that the Mueller investigation is officially over, can we get on with our lives? Yes. And now, I believe we're going to start seeing the dominoes fall. And
people are going to jail.
People are going to start to be investigated.
Here's the
thing.
You're going to start dropping
I saw that Attorney General Barr, who... told Trump that he was in legal bounds to declare a emergency.
Yeah.
This guy's going to be good. He's going to be good. And
well, that's why they didn't want him. Bill Barr is his name. William Barr.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He was bipartisanly elected, from what I understand, and bipartisan people thought that he would maybe be a little bit more like a Rod Rosenstein or something. Mm-hmm. But he is in the Trump camp. He is of that mindset, and I think that what he saw, maybe it's what he saw with Kavanaugh. There's a lot of red pill moments that we have seen, and if you're red pilled a little bit, then you start to go after those things. And I'm pretty sure that they vetted him to make sure he wouldn't be another Jeff Sessions. But here we have Rand Paul saying, breaking, a high-level source tells me it was Brennan who insisted that the unverified and fake Steele dossier be included in the intelligence report. Brennan should be asked to testify under oath in Congress ASAP.
That's awesome.
So, Senator Rand Paul told Breitbart News exclusively on Wednesday that President Donald Trump told senators at the weekly GOP luncheon that he backs his call for an investigation into the origins of the Russian scandal hoax, because now it's over. You can call it a hoax, and now you have to go after the hoaxers, just like Jussie Smollett.
Okay, and speaking of Jussie, because I didn't say this on air, but I said it to you the other day, when it was found that the charges had been dropped against Jussie, I said, okay, if the charges have been dropped against him, and his lawyer is still saying that the brothers are guilty of this, and they were wearing whiteface or whatever.
Oh, right. Then they need to be
charged.
charged.
Have to be charged, but they're not being charged. And so if this prosecutor is not going to charge Jussie, then he has to charge the brothers. And there's no two ways about it.
Right.
Now, he did admit that Jussie was guilty.
Right, so they can't go after after the brothers, and so Smollett's just lying and lying and lying.
And he shouldn't be allowed to continue to go in front of everybody and lie and say that he's innocent when the very prosecutors that were going to prosecute him are saying, no, you're guilty, we're just letting you off.
So where do your prayers need to go right now? Just pray that we can get some good people in the DOJ who will start to investigate the investigators. John Brennan was director of the CIA, and he promulgated this Russian hoax. He was one of the people that pushed it forward that still... even after Mueller came out, he said, well, when he was asked, because he said, for sure this happened, for sure there's collusion. Yeah. Director of the CIA, really? For sure? He goes, well, maybe my sources weren't as good as I thought they were. Liar! No, you're just a liar. You didn't have any sources. So Paul says, the president was at lunch today and he voiced his support for investigating the people who concocted this hoax. He didn't use the word hoax. Those are my words. But I think we should get to the bottom of this. And he believes we should get to the bottom of this because this should never, ever happen to another president. Remember, he was investigated for 2 years. All of his emails, all of his bank records, all of his phone calls. It was all of his family. And I have to tell you guys what President Trump went through. He just did so amazing. I tell you guys this all the time. And Donald Trump Jr. came out stronger because of it, too, on the other side. He feels that it's damaging to the country, damaging to the ability to lead the country. And we basically, somebody within the Obama administration, within the DOJ and the FBI, basically concocted an investigation, trumped it up to be something that it wasn't because they had no evidence whatsoever. No evidence whatsoever. They concocted it. And then we've gone through 2 years of the country being stalled because of this fake investigation.
President Trump calling to investigate Obama-era officials for their role in launching the Russia collusion probe.
Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky tweeted out last night this shocking claim. Breaking, a high-level source tells me it was John Brennan who insisted that the unverified and fake Steele dossier be included in the intel report. Brennan should be asked to testify under oath in front of Congress as soon as possible.
Senator Rand Paul joins us now to explain.
Look at that smile on his face.
What more can you tell us about the lead you got?
Well, my source tells me that the intelligence community, Obama's intelligence community, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, they were frustrated because they had this Russian dossier, but nobody believed it was real. It wasn't verifiable. They couldn't get anything of it. So they sent spies into the Trump campaign. They tried to entrap Trump officials to admit they were working with Russia. That wasn't
into the
working.
Trump campaign.
So
that
they were
should be
frustrated,
illegal
but
too.
they wanted
Like, how
to
is
somehow
that legal?
get this information out, this Russian dossier,
you know?
that even the media wasn't publishing. Nobody would publish it because it was so scandalous, unverifiable, and likely fiction. So finally they decided, well, what we have to do is attach this dossier, this fake dossier, to an intelligence report. So the president receives these intelligence reports, and they're given directly to the president. Well, what they do is they staple to the report the Russian dossier. So now Obama's officially seeing it, and then also it's given to Trump at this point. But realize that this is a big circle. They'd had the dossier for months and months. So when John McCain is given the dossier, it's given to him by people who may have leaked it from our government to John McCain, so John McCain can give it back to the FBI. I mean, it's a crazy circle, all trying to justify something that wasn't true, but extraordinary power of these people and extraordinary corruption. And they almost brought, they tried to bring down a sitting president. This shouldn't happen to anybody. And when President Trump spoke to us this week, he said he doesn't want it to happen to any future presidents, Republican or Democrat, that the intelligence agencies use all of their power of surveillance to actually try to bring down a sitting president.
Yeah, you say that Brennan, Clapper, and Comey were all frustrated. What's frustrating is they use this dossier, this unverified, salacious dossier, very scandalous, as you say, to try to take down the president. You tweeted out you have a high-level source. I doubt you're going to tell us who the source is, but I have to ask, who's the source? And if you're not going to tell me the name, how trustworthy is this person?
I think it comes from someone who has a great deal of information about what's been going on. Not everybody, nobody knows the complete picture yet. And that's why I'm in favor of, the president has now said that he's going to declassify some of these documents. See, I believe that the dossier, had been held by the FBI for several months. Brennan starts his little group to investigate it. I believe at that time they did talk to President Obama about it. And I think they should all be asked, when did President Obama learn about this and what was his recommendation? He's in charge of the government. Did he recommend that you try to spread the dossier throughout the government? Remember those reports right around the time of the election, right after Trump won, they were saying that Obama officials were spreading this information throughout government. They were spreading the dossier and they couldn't gain traction. So then they released it to people outside government, reporters who would write a story. And then they would say to the FISA judge, look, there's a story being written about this dossier. It must be true.
It's Exhibit A. Well, it'll be interesting when you're able to call Mr. Brennan in front of Congress. That's going to be great. A member of Congress got the attention of the president this morning in a tweet. I want to read it to you, Senator. Congressman Adam Schiff, the president writes, who spent 2 years knowingly and unlawfully leaking and lying, should be forced to resign from Congress. What do you think about that?
Pretty strong words. I think we should see the evidence. I think if you're on the intelligence committees or any committees that handle sensitive material, leaking that to the media is a crime and ought to be a crime. And we have certain rules for congressmen, so you can say things in public on the floor in the spirit of debate. You can't be censored for that. But if you're from a committee hearing a classified hearing and then you're talking to a reporter about it, that is a real problem. It's one reason why whenever I go to a classified hearing, I don't stop and talk to the media immediately, because I want to make sure that I've collected my thoughts and that I don't reveal anything that came from the classified hearing.
Wow. But it does happen a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it comes all throughout government. That's a sad thing. It comes from the Pentagon. It comes from the Department of State. Yeah. I talk to ambassadors, our ambassadors overseas, and some of them are afraid to talk to me on official lines because they're being listened to by other members of our government.
Yeah, and by the way, the Democrats are not buying the summary. They still think the president colluded just about to a person. They just can't get enough of this story.
Yeah, and I think what's going to happen, and what I'm telling people is I'm okay with the Mueller report coming out more completely. But in addition, we need to have information on Obama, White House officials, Comey, Brennan, Clapper. That should be part of it, because the report is the conclusion, but the beginning is why did we get to the report?
Exactly. The report is the conclusion, but how did we get there to begin with? That's the big thing.
I'm really excited to see what happens moving forward, because actually, as these people are brought before these committee hearings and stuff, and as maybe, the DOJ goes after them and they do get convictions, those convictions in and of themselves will help to vindicate and justify Donald Trump, and the left will have to keep backpedaling. Even Maxine Waters has kind of walked back her impeach speeches lately. She's kind of like, well, we have more important things to do than to impeach right now. Right. And it's like that was her sole line, because she knows that she doesn't have anything to go on.
Right. So here, and you guys have heard this 100 times, so I need to go over it one more time. The only 2016 campaign that deliberately colluded with Russians was Hillary Clinton's.
I love that.
For more than 2 years, the campaign, presidential transition, and the official government administration of Donald Trump operated under a cloud of suspicion that they had, this is from Sean Davis at the Federalist, they had engaged in a treasonous conspiracy to steal the 2016 election from former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. I wonder if she'll stop. Trump and his top associates were accused of collusion and of conspiring with Russians to subvert American democracy. We're still hoping, hearing word on what's going to happen to Rodgers. I think Jeremy Corsi's in the clear.
Yeah. Well, somebody had said that in one of the chats here, and I'm sorry I missed your comment.
In the clear yet,
although
from what I understand.
They said that financially he's ruined. But he's in the clear now.
Is he?
That's what somebody said in the chat.
Because I haven't seen him. I would have thought that I would have seen him on InfoWars right away. Remember General
Unless
Flynn?
He's been censored. Like, they literally can put gag orders on you, and you're cleared, but you can't say anything.
Well, General Flynn is in the pocket for $5 million. $5 million in legal fees.
Oh, my gosh.
I think the American government should pay restitution.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Trump going to...
pardon him. I think that's in the works, and he might even pardon Manafort. I don't even know, but not Cohen, because he threw him under the bus.
Yeah, sorry, Cohen. Yeah. You gotta.
So remember, the former director of the CIA, Brennan, publicly declared Trump to be guilty of treason, an offense punishable by death.
Yeah, and Britt Bosma was talking about that in the EU, or not in the EU, in the UK. Their treason laws are still punishable by death, and so are ours.
Yeah. And by the way, the mayor of Puerto Rico said that if he saw Trump, he would punch him in the face. I know.
Isn't that like
that
a
should
threat?
Be punishable by removal of office?
Yeah.
The former head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and the country's premier law enforcement agency intimated that the president had illegally obstructed justice. In the end, none of it, nada was even...
Well, hang on a second, and you can read that, so I'm not interrupting you. what happened to defamation of character? If you have the president of the United States and every person against him is coming out with things that are literal defamation of character, causing American voters. So not only do we have defamation of character, we have voter fraud here because he's still got another term to be elected
and it was all conspiracy. So I want not another peep from the mainstream media about Alex Jones and Sandy Hook.
Right, exactly.
Never again. Nothing about my conspiracies. I don't even care. You better let flat earthers go over this. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You don't get to be, you don't get to say anything. Nobody in the mainstream media gets to say anything about conspiracy theories ever again.
And you know,
they don't get to talk about Obama's birth certificate. Oh, yeah, they don't get to talk about anything. Michelle Obama being a man.
It set a precedent now that I think is actually good news.
They set a precedent. So now, here's the thing. What they did for 2 years was spread a conspiracy theory that they knew was false. Because they knew there wasn't any information.
Right.
And they misled the people so much so that somebody had said that they were reading on MSNBC's comments on Twitter and saying, and the reporter had honestly said, you know, Trump is cleared from all the charges. But the comments on MSNBC were, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Because if you only listen to the mainstream media, Trump's guilty and he's going to be impeached any day now. Any day now. You've seen, I hope somebody makes children watch a compilation of the media telling him that Trump is a traitor, Trump's a traitor, he's a Nazi this, he's blah, 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 and say, this is what they tried to do to a sitting president, and we're never going to let that happen again. Just like with World War II, we're never going to let that happen. This, by far, is the worst thing to ever happen to a president.
Yeah.
They literally tried to politically assassinate him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just one person. It was an entire team of people. It was thousands of people in on this. Because why? Because they hate God. Anybody who pushed the Trump-Russia conspiracy, you know right off the bat, they are enemies of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Because God is doing something in our country. Okay? We get our borders back. We get school choice back. We're draining the swamp. They all love the swamp. Why? Because evil feeds on evil, right? When a bacteria doesn't want to see an antibacterial solution, doesn't want to see bleach. Yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? The Wicked Witch of the West hates water. You know what I mean? So when you throw water on the Wicked Witch of the West, she's going to melt and die. But if you throw water on Glenda, she's just going to get wet.
Oh, that's good.
Right? And so what they did with Donald Trump is he's just getting wet all day long because he's not evil.
Right.
But when we throw...
He's taken that water and made a daggone water park out of it.
That's exactly what he did. And he's going to start throwing... And now it's our turn to start throwing water on people in a political sense. And we're going to see... It's going to be a test to see who melts and who doesn't.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic.
After says, amen, Leah, and take some bee pollen too.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I will. Thank you. After a nearly 2-year-long investigation that issued 2,800 subpoenas, interviewed 500 witnesses, and used nearly 300 wiretaps and pen registers, they couldn't find anything on Donald Trump. He is now the most vetted president in history.
And that's the thing that gets me about
He's going to be able to take that to 2020 and be like, I ain't done nothing wrong ever. They have investigated me down to my birth.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, down to the birthmark on his booty or something. I mean, this is ridiculous. I was thinking about these surveillance. Because it said that the FBI and every agency used all of the surveillance possible to them. I'm thinking to myself, okay, so they tapped his camera on his cell phone, probably on Melania's.
Right.
Everything that we're paranoid about, like I put my cell phone under my pillow when I need to change in my room, that sort of thing. I mean, seriously, they have invaded their privacy to the nth degree. It's not just... you know, that they were wiretapping. You know they were using video as well.
Right.
And that's, to me,
here's the other thing, okay? With the special counsel, if they uncover any crime, then that's what happened to Cohen and Manafort.
Yeah.
And so if they had uncovered any crime that Trump had ever done, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so... it doesn't mean that 2016 was free of Russian collusion.
Right.
To the contrary. There is clear evidence that a 2016 presidential campaign willfully and deliberately colluded with Russians in a bid to interfere with American elections. I cannot stand when Tucker has that Liberon who says that Trump Tower meeting, meeting.
Gosh.
That woman was paid by Fusion GPS, who was paid by the Hillary Clinton campaign to set them up to make him look like they were meeting with Russians.
Exactly.
So who paid the Russian? Hillary Clinton's campaign paid the Russian.
Right.
That's colluding.
Yes.
Oh my word.
She should go to jail.
It wasn't Trump's campaign that colluded with shady Russian oligarchs and sketchy Russian sources to subvert Americans' democracy. It was Hillary Clinton's. In fact, the entire Russian collusion conspiracy that held the nation hostage for more than 2 years was the brainchild of a foreign national who was working on behalf of a sanctioned Russian oligarch with close ties to the Kremlin. At the same, it just boggles my mind.
But Hillary Clinton has already worked with the Russians before, so she already had that bridge to cross.
Oh my word, at the same time, he was telling the media that Trump was the undisclosed agent of Russia. That foreign national was lobbying the U.S. Department of Justice to ease up on his Russian benefactor. As it turns out, the DOJ official being lobbied was the spouse of one of that foreign national's co-workers at the firm that hired the two of them to foment Russian hysteria on behalf of the Clinton campaign. And in a twist almost too bizarre for even the most bizarre I don't even know who this guy's is, Franz Kafka novel, the firm was itself working on behalf of a Russian billionaire's corporation that had been charged by U.S. federal prosecutors with illegally evading U.S. sanctions. So here you have Fusion GPS, who working with a billionaire's corporation that had already been charged by federal prosecutors, already done illegal things.
Right.
It's absolutely insane. That foreign spook turned international political provocateur was none other than Christopher Steele. Provocateur, the author of the infamous and utterly debunked Steele dossier that ignited a domestic firestorm after it was briefed to President-elect Trump in January 2016. Now, Nellie Oars, if you guys want to look at him, her transcripts have been made known, and so a lot of great things are coming out there, or truthful things that we've known to be true, but now it's out being true.
Right.
Remember, why is she important? She worked for Fusion GPS, who was hired by Clinton to find dirt on Donald Trump, and she was researching dirt on Donald Trump and on Don Jr. and on all these people, and she was passing them on to her husband Bruce Orr at the FBI. So Hillary Clinton is passing information to the FBI, dirt, asking the federal government to investigate her opponent. Absolutely crazy.
She has to go to jail. She has got to go to jail, or at least her people have to go to jail.
Yeah. Ignited a domestic firestorm after it was briefed to President-elect Trump in January 2016 and subsequently published in full by BuzzFeed, the dossier. His Russian benefactor at the time was Oleg Deripaska. His co-conspirator at the DOJ was...
I wasn't following the things. Oh,
Bruce Orr. We just talked about. His wife was...
Nellie Orr.
And they received more than $40,000. She received more than $40,000 for her work at Fusion GPS. The Clinton campaign sponsored opposition research firm that just so happened to be working on behalf of Prevezon, a company owned by Russian billionaire Denis Katsev, during the 26th campaign. Like, seriously, Katsev. They couldn't even come up with another country.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're obviously working with Russians, so they're going to say Donald Trump was working with Russians. They should have picked another...
No, I think you're wrong there. I think that they did the wise thing because they were thinking to themselves, all right, evidence is going to show that there was collusion. It's going to be us, but we have to turn it around and put on Donald Trump. Now, the reason why I wasn't paying attention and I was paying attention was because I think Gio in the chat had said, has anybody seen Hillary lately? And I was going to say, yes, she actually looks better than ever. They pump her full of life-giving stuff. I don't know how they do it. Which then caused my brain like rabbit trail.
Oh, I haven't seen her.
To think of the fact that we haven't seen Jada Franson in a long time, but I watched a video put out by her today, and we'll go over that on Sunday. Okay. So that's where my brain was at that moment when I went in class and you're asked, and I was thinking about Hillary and Jada
curious
Franson.
Clinton campaign collusion connections don't end there. Somehow it gets worse. The Russian attorney Prevezon which later settled charges of laundering money and violating sanctions in exchange for $5.9 million in fines paid to the DOJ, was none other than Natalia Vesnitskaya.
Now, isn't she that lawyer?
Who arranged the Trump Tower meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner.
She was the lawyer that was in the room, though, wasn't she?
She was her, yeah. A meeting that was alleged to be proof positive that the Trump campaign had illegally colluded with the Russians during the 2016 campaign. This is what I don't understand. Why doesn't Tucker Carlson call this guy and say, Natalia was on the take? She's the Russian attorney for the company.
But they said that in the very beginning. I mean, in 2017, that was talked about. I don't know why it's gotten buried. We knew it back then. I'm thinking to myself, hang on. We knew about the Fusion GPS connection. We knew about Hillary Clinton's campaign donating to Fusion GPS. We knew it. They were talking about it in the beginning stages of 2017, how Natalia was bought off, and this was a complete setup. Then somehow that storyline got buried under the rug.
You guys know, Fusion GPS. Right after the meeting with Donald Trump Jr., she met with the, what's the guy who runs Fusion GPS? I can't run on their names.
The wrong person.
Okay, well, the guy who runs Fusion GPS, she met with him. She works with him. They were working with her.
Wow.
Okay?
Right.
That's the connection. And I want to be on Tucker's show, and I want to just like, hey, hello. Don't bring that up again. It proves that Clinton is connected to the Russians. That it was a setup. You can't say, "Oh, well, they fell for the bait." No, what matters is not if the dog ate the poisoned meat, but who poisoned the meat. Yeah, the Clinton campaign poisoned the meat.
Yeah,
right.
You just came up with that.
I guess so. The Curious Clinton campaign collusion connection zone in there. Oh yeah. Unlike the fabulous musings of Christopher Steele, who, by his own admission, colluded with the Kremlin officials as he prepared and disseminated his anti-Trump dossier, he literally went went to the Kremlin to get some dirt, try to come up with something.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering what it must have been like. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Just laughing their heads off, not thinking it's gonna end up like this.
I know.
Just fine. Just give him some stuff. Just make up some stuff. It's going to be hilarious. Let's see what happens. Because Russia is all about sowing discord because they are funny and they're provocateurs themselves.
Hang on, though. And we say this all the time on the show, and I'm going to say it again since you're bringing it up. And that's the fact that, like, every country influences other countries' elections, and we are the biggest that does it.
Right, exactly.
I mean, this is absolute absurdity. Like, this is the pot calling the kettle black here.
Okay. Let's see. They are documented and verified facts, which for some reason escaped the attention of the scores of journalists and investigators who purported to root out any and all incidences of foreign collusion during the 2016 election. If Russia is, the enemy, that I think it's all a joke.
Yeah.
Russians are hilarious. If you ever watch RT, what I'm sad about is that it's kind of taken the funny out of RT, even though they still... I used to see funny RT things all the time on my Twitter feed, but RT's been downranked. RT was the funny in politics.
Right.
Okay? And actually they wanted Trump to be president. They did. They did want Trump to be president, part of them, but there are people in the Kremlin and people in the Russian government who didn't want Trump to be president. Right. There are oligarchs and billionaires who hate Vladimir Putin.
Is spring here that early?
Is it that time again?
I know, you're right. These are Russians. I have a great idea. I know. Let's do this. It'll be so funny.
It's a pee-pee gate.
It's a pee-pee gate.
I know.
It's a pee-pee gate. Great idea.
You've seen Vladimir Putin when he laughed about it.
It's so great.
The prostitutes thing. He was laughing. He thought it was hilarious. It's like, you want to hear Vladimir Putin like, can't y'all take a joke, me?
I know.
Can't y'all take a joke? I didn't realize
I think about 6 months in there, like, can you believe what has happened?
It's like, seriously, this joke went south fast. Right? And you know what? It was so insane.
I wonder if they find us.
They made it so insane.
I know.
You know what I mean? That's why Comey and Brennan, they wanted it to be real. No one would take it. They're looking at it. It's a joke. Everybody's like, this is a joke.
Right.
It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Right.
Christopher Steele is the one with egg on his face, passing off this thing that is a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. Ha ha ha.
No one would ever take it seriously. Oh my gosh.
He wanted to stay in the hotel room where Obama stayed and have prostitutes pee on the sheets. That is a joke. You want some dirt on Donald Trump? Here is dirt. Here is dirt. You can see Putin on the phone. He's talking to somebody. This guy wants dirt on Donald Trump. He's working for Hillary Clinton, right? He's like, Make it up, baby. Make it as good as you can.
Oh my gosh! Wait.
Make it as good as you can.
Wait, because that reminds me of this book that Horatio had sent us about this guy. Delete this at your peril.
Exactly.
Okay, where the fraud callers contact him via email.
Right.
Okay, and his replies are always ridiculous. Like, okay, he says, hello, Bob. Thanks again. All the same, artists speak both in words and pictures. Remember, we have our home, friends, family, and social life to live, so we speak only in pictures when we are at work, Bob. Then about your painting, I will do the artwork and all the words you want me to print on. It sounds okay because it makes you look like a brave captain, or rather a hero, LOL. I'm looking forward to getting your mail ASAP, and it's very important that you send your advice through Western Union so I can get started on Bob's Beauty. Then the job will be ready within 12 days. Have a super day, Colin. Then the response is, hi, Colin. I did not mean you would speak in pictures. I was thinking if you think in pictures. If I was to walk up to you in the street and whisper, hello, Colin, you look good, then would you think in words, Bob thinks I look good? Or would you see yourself as a picture looking the best that you can? That is what I am interested in. Is it different for you as an artist, Bob? So, okay, I mean, he throws these people off with this ridiculous stuff. And that's what I'm thinking the Russians did.
The PPKs.
Yeah. He wants, he wants some dirt. We want dirt on Donald Trump. And he says,
Fusion GPS was hired in April 2016 by the Clinton campaign's law firm to do opposition research against the Trump campaign after it became clear that Trump would be the Republican presidential nominee. The campaign expenditures of Fusion GPS were never disclosed in campaign finance reports. At the same time, it was working on behalf of Previzon, we told you about, who the Russian lawyer was a Trump Tower chick, a company owned by the Kremlin-connected Russian oligarch Denis Katsvu, in the company's battle with U.S. prosecutors over the Magnitsky Act sanctions against the company. Shortly after Fusion was hired to work for the Clinton campaign and the DNC, it retained the services of Steele and directed him to dig up dirt on connections between Trump campaign and Russia. The series of reports and memoranda prepared and peddled by Steele collectively became known as the Steele dossier. Nellie Orr, wife of top DOJ official Bruce Orr, and try to keep him separate. So Bruce Orr is in the DOJ, and Strzok and McCabe and Page are in the FBI.
Right.
Was also hired by Fusion GPS to assist with its Russian-related anti-Trump research, and it was Orr who later became the secret conduit between Steele and the FBI. After Steele's status as a confidential human source for the FBI was terminated when the Bureau learned he had lied about his contacts with the news media. So he was terminated with the FBI, but Orr kept it going. So then Natasha, the Russian attorney for Previzon, with whom Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson worked directly, just so happened to be responsible for setting up the 2016 Trump Tower meeting that was touted as evidence that the Trump campaign was going out of its way to collude with Russian officials in order to take down Hillary Clinton. Natasha met with Simpson both before and after the meeting, although both claim they never discussed the meeting, only the Previzon matter. However, information that Natasha provided during the Trump Tower meeting, the dirt, which was promised to the president's oldest son, was actually produced by Fusion GPS, raising questions about the claims that Simpson and Natasha never discussed the Trump Tower meeting. So she took the dirt from Fusion GPS to them.
Yeah.
Liars. She was indicted by federal authorities earlier this year for obstructing justice during the course of the same litigation that she and Fusion GPS worked on together. So then you have, in addition to funneling unverified allegations from his dossier to the FBI and the media, Steele also repeatedly intervened with Orr and the DOJ official on behalf of Oleg Deripaska. The transcripts of Orr's congressional testimony show that Steele referred to Deripaska as our favorite business tycoon and tried several times to broker a meeting between Deripaska and the DOJ. Although Deripaska was prohibited from traveling to the United States, he used diplomatic cover to enter the U.S. at least twice in 2016, once in June and again in September. Federal agents interviewed him in New York during his September visit, according to Deripaska's attorney and registered agent. The relationship between Steele and Deripaska's team continued well past the election into 2017, when Waldman offered himself to Senator Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, as the middleman between Steele and the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Waldman's offer to Warner to broker access to Steele came to light when secret encrypted text messages between Waldman and Warner were published by Fox News in February 2018. Waldman also previously registered as a foreign agent for former Russian Minister Sergei Lavrov. Federal records show that his formal lobbying on behalf of the Russian politician ended on May 31st, 2017. Separate federal filings required by the Federal Agents Registration Act show he actually collected $1.1 million from this person. So it's beyond dispute that Clinton campaign and the DNC funded an opposition research firm that was working on behalf of a company owned by a criminally connected Russian oligarch. Russian collusion. To dig up dirt on the alleged connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. That firm then hired a foreign national who was working on behalf of another Russian oligarch. At the same time, he was providing his unsubstantiated allegations of Trump campaign malfeasance to federal authorities. That same foreign national was trying to get those same federal officials to allow the sanctioned oligarch entry into the United States. Russian. He's working to get a Russian oligarch into the United States while pretending to dig up dirt on Trump having connections with Russia. But he's colluding with Russians. Meanwhile, the Russian attorney whose presence at the Trump Tower meeting with Trump campaign officials was taken as proof positive of collusion, was also secretly meeting with the founder of the firm used by the Clinton campaign and the DNC to allege that it was the Trump campaign that was improperly communicating with Russians. And if that weren't enough, the most salacious allegations in the infamous dossier that was a primary basis for the secret federal surveillance of a political campaign were sourced to various anonymous officials with the Kremlin. So there was absolutely Russian collusion during the 2016 campaign. There was absolutely a presidential campaign eager to deploy Russian information against its opponent. There was absolutely foreign interference in the 2016 election from one of America's top geopolitical adversaries. As the Mueller investigation reportedly concluded, though, there was no illegal conspiracy with Trump campaign to collude with Russians to subvert our democracy. There was collusion, all right, but it was committed by the presidential campaign.
So I think what they did was they knew that they were going to have their Russian collusion. They knew that they were colluding with the Russians.
Right.
But the way that you read that, and I know it's a lot to take in, especially when Leah's reading it fast, and the short of it is, they went through all of these hoops and they took this ball of yarn and they wound it all up and they thought, you know what, if we tangle this and we jump through so many different hoops so tightly, they'll never be able to unravel it, and they'll just assume, since we can't unravel this ball of craziness, they're going to blame it on Trump. But they weren't counting on the fact that with the Mueller investigation, they literally were pulling all of the knots out, and when it came down to it, the Mueller investigation probably found that it was 100% the Hillary campaign that colluded with Russia, but he's not being bought off and paid to investigate that. So he's not going to bring charges against Hillary Clinton, because a real prosecutor actually would have found, okay, you know what? It wasn't Donald Trump. It was Hillary Clinton. Now we have to bring charges against her.
Turn us on.
Okay.
So Donald Trump last night talked about this. He says,
Eric Butler says collusion isn't a crime, but we sure think it is now.
Exactly. That's
point.
true. Did it go yet?
It didn't. Oh, there it goes.
And this group of major losers did not just ruthlessly attack me, my family, and everyone who questioned their lies. They tried to divide our country, to poison the national debate, and to tear up the fabric of our great democracy, the greatest anywhere in the world.
He's on fire, dude.
They did it all because they refused to accept the results.
Dragon energy's back.
Of one of the greatest presidential elections, probably number one in our history.
So, oh my gosh.
Bill B says, I wonder if Rachel Madcow is going to report on her losing 500,000 viewers in one night after the Mueller report came out.
Yeah, they all were hoping for these connections to come out. You know what? She'd get a lot of more viewers if she started to put the Clinton connections together.
You got to put the connections together, Rachel.
Yeah.
Little pencil neck Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff was on the Intelligence Committee that really promulgated this. He's on the take. You can see his eyes, shifty eyes.
He's got the smallest, thinnest neck I've ever seen. He is not a long ball hitter. But I saw him today. well, we don't really know. There could still have been some Russia collusion. Sick. These are sick people.
I'm not sure you really wanted to play that clip. Go ahead, let's play another.
Well, the Trump campaign came out with this T-shirt, pencil neck Adam Schiff.
Okay.
They think it's funny.
Yeah.
He thinks it's funny.
A lot of people probably think it's funny. At Resistance Chicks, we are required to not think that that's funny, but to allow other people to think it's funny.
Okay, that was our ridiculous BS.
Finally, the day is...
Oh, sorry. Random news of the day. Brunei is a country.
Never heard of it.
It is the
Isn't
tiny...
it a Muslim country though? Actually, I think I had heard the storyline. I didn't know the name of the country.
Brunei will begin stoning gays and adulterers to death starting next week after the tiny nation on the island of Borneo converted to Sharia law in 2014.
Wow.
While the new laws were announced 5 years ago and gradually phased in by the country's sultan, this guy, who is also Prime Minister, Bolkiah, the death penalty for homosexual sex and adultery will begin on April 3rd, according to CNN. Brunei's roughly 450,000 residents were notified of the April 3rd start date after the country's Attorney General posted a December 29th notification on his website. Human rights groups are horrified. Brunei must immediately halt its plans to implement these vicious punishments and revise its penal code in compliance with its human rights obligation. The international community must urgently condemn Brunei's move to put these cruel penalties into practice.
Wow.
Now, these are the countries in which homosexual acts are punishable by death. I would like for you to see that most of them are in the Middle East and in Africa. Now, those are in the Muslim countries. I guarantee it. And then in the dark countries, homosexual acts are... the dark countries are the homosexual acts, they're punishable by death. The light countries, homosexual acts are illegal. Now,
so here we have death.
So it's a Sharia law thing. Now, I would like to explain the Christian stance on homosexuality because Christians get put into the box of these Sharia law people.
Right.
When we say that homosexuality is a sinful act. But our New Testament is very clear that we're not supposed to go out and round up sinners.
Right.
And punish them. We got another
one. Must have had like a mosquito birthing outside.
I guess so. And especially Jesus, listen, the death penalty is a big deal.
And
yeah,
it ends a life.
You know, he didn't take the thief off the Roman cross.
Yeah.
However,
he had to take his punishment.
However, and here's what you need to know. The woman caught in adultery, which is no worse than a homosexual act. He said, "You without sin cast the first stone."
That's right.
So there are criminal acts.
Yes.
And then there are moral acts. And people don't get... If I lie to you...
Yeah.
God sees that.
Yes,
and that's a moral act.
Which you'd never do that.
And so people shouldn't be put to death for that. And, you know, Christians, I mean, Paul even said, you know, come out from amongst them, be separate. When it's talking about sinners, he doesn't say go out and preach sin to people. I know a lot of Christians like to do that, but that's not it. You go out and you preach Jesus to people. And you say Jesus died for your sins. And then when people realize who Jesus is and what he did, then you bring them into the body of Christ, and they're like, well, I don't want any sin in my life. And the Holy Spirit begins to do a work in you, and you begin to realize things like, oh, the sexual act is between a man and a woman who are married, and that's God.
Well, hang on though, because here's the deal that
Christians
people
today
miss.
Have it backwards. What I'm trying to say.
We're supposed to, as Christianity, it's so much like the world likes to tell us that we just hate homosexuality, even though the Bible says that God does.
Right.
When actually, we just love God's beautiful design.
Right.
And anything that goes against that is not holy and it is not pure. And that goes all the way down for us. We believe
there
that...
There's an earring.
What was that, my earring?
Yeah, it just
I must be
flew
very
out.
excited. We'll take the other one off. We believe that, God wanted man to farm, right? God put Adam in a garden, okay, for a reason.
Yeah.
So there is the very, very best of all things.
Right.
So at the very least,
right,
the world should do us the courtesy of saying, you know what, Christianities just think that a marriage between a man and a woman is the ultimate, is the best. Now, you and I both know that, yes, it is a sin. It says that God abhors it, okay? And so we just align ourselves with what the Lord says. But it doesn't tell us in the New Testament that we are supposed to go around killing anyone for any sin that they have done.
Or even calling out sinners for sin.
Yeah.
It's okay for us to tell people what sin is, but to go and, call people out, our job is to preach the gospel. And to say Jesus died for your sins,
right?
And then when people realize who Jesus is,
you're forgiven. And that's one thing that you and I talked about the other day, that Islam doesn't actually preach. Right. Hey, convert.
Right.
We want to bring you in. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Christian homosexuals, Trump supporters, and listen, there's people who support Trump on all the political realm. There are all kinds of different Christians. There are people who pray to Mary, if you're a Catholic.
Yeah.
I personally don't believe that you can pray to Mary.
Right.
Right? And so I believe that that's not right to do.
Yeah.
But I believe that God can use that for certain people. And so I am really excited to see a lot of homosexuals coming into the conservative movement who believe in, who are going after things that are criminal.
Yeah.
They're going after the Federal Reserve. They're going after abortion, which is murder. And homosexuality or adultery or fornication or all these things are all into one thing, but I can't hold people morally accountable until we get back to farming, until they're not put in public schools, until there's not porn put in everybody's face.
Exactly.
People keep falling into these traps.
Right.
And I believe that for a lot of these people, homosexuals there are perpetrators, and then there are victims. And there are people who are entrapped in homosexuality, who may have been molested, who may have been brainwashed, who may something may have happened there.
Right. So Burbaza points out, if everyone was gay, the human race would die out. And that's just a valid argument there.
Right. Exactly. And so I draw the line with a homosexual pointing their perversion on other people. You know what I mean? But I kind of wanted to point this out because it is a big deal. And we're called Islamophobic.
Yeah.
If we as Christians... See, it's so weird that CNN won't say, hey, the resistance chicks who say homosexuality is a sin.
Right.
Right? But love the sinner.
Don't go killing them.
Who says, and we say that Sharia law and Islam is dangerous because when you implement Sharia law, you kill people. And when you implement Christianity, you put your body down over top of a woman being stoned for adultery, and you say that might have been a homosexual. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
They could have run a homosexual right down there and say, and then what did Jesus say? Go and sin no more.
Right.
But he said no death penalty.
Right.
You evil, wicked people.
Adulterous woman. Yeah.
You evil, wicked people. We are not doing the death penalty. Jesus came to abolish the stoning and the death penalty that was under the law.
And I would like to clarify, since we're kind of talking a little bit preachy here, for people that may wonder, a lot of people love God and they call themselves Christians, and you are a Christian if you've asked Jesus in your heart, but you don't have a lot of biblical knowledge in it, and you feel inadequate to have discussions with other people because you don't understand when they bring up the argument of, well, in the Old Testament, they fill in the blank.
Yeah.
You need to understand that God said, I am not satisfied and I don't enjoy your sacrifices. Okay. Now God implemented the law that required the sacrifices. Why did he do that? He did that because in the society at the time, God wrote the law in a manner that they could understand.
It was very culturally.
It was very,
All
very
the other
cultural.
At
It
the
wasn't
time
that God wanted sacrifices. They
wanted to do sacrifices.
And it wasn't that God really wanted stoning for adultery, okay? But in the society without the Holy Spirit, in the societies that they had, it was the only way to deal with a problem that, guys, I have to tell you something very matter of fact. Homosexuality leads to child molestation, okay? They didn't have jails at the time back then. They really only had one way to deal with a problem that could possibly hurt other people. And that's why that's in the law. Not that God wanted it, not that God loves the death penalty. Okay? It's a matter of societal and what was happening at the time.
And so I like to say, when it comes to Old Testament things, Jesus came to show us God's way.
Exactly.
Okay?
Like,
Jesus came to show us what God meant with the law.
Right.
No, God doesn't want you to be stoning people.
Right.
It was basically there to keep Israel pure. Okay? But he didn't want anybody to ever be stoned.
Right.
And when it came down to it, Jesus would say, no, stop it.
Mom
Stop
says Judge Janine is back.
She's coming back on Saturday.
Hot dog.
Tomorrow. So,
speaking of which, though, because when you had that map up, this is what I wanted to say. These dark countries that kill people for being homosexual, when Judge Janine says Sharia law is antithetical to our Constitution, that's what she means. She should never have been taken off of her show for that. It is antithetical to our Constitution, to the United States, to our way of life, to kill homosexuals. Hands down.
and then when you look at the colors, you know, homosexual acts are just legal in the gray areas, but the blue areas are where same-sex marriage is legal. Now, I don't believe that same-sex marriage is a thing, you know, a civil union, two people coming together, whatever.
No, you know, our friend ABT, this came up in my memories the other day, said it best when he said, listen, there's like, I don't even know, I think there's like 1,900 benefits or whatever that a married couple gets. And this goes back like 7 years on a Facebook post that a married couple gets, okay? When it comes to homosexual marriage, we shouldn't be asking ourselves whether that should be legal. We should be asking ourselves why we get government benefits of up to upwards of $2,000 when we get married. Why do we need to look to the government to give us benefits or to sanctify or whatever, to acknowledge our union? That's what actually we should be addressing.
Right.
You shouldn't be getting all these benefits. And what are they? Most of them are taxes.
Right.
Hey, we probably shouldn't even be being taxed that way.
Right. And as civil unions, anybody should be able to enter into some sort of civil union with another person and get the tax benefits.
Exactly.
And health care benefits.
Right.
You know, what if you got a job and we live in the same home? We should be able to get health care benefits together.
Right.
I mean, seriously, why is this? They've literally taken... Well, anyways, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. Anyways. Last bit of news here is so funny. AOC's Green New Deal was put to a vote in the Senate. And I should have gone live on just this because it's so funny. No one voted for it. Not one Democrat, not even the guy who co-sponsored it. It's so hilarious. The Democrats, 43 Democrats voted present. Everybody else voted against it. It lost with a vote of 0 to 57 with, I think, 4 Democrats crossing the aisle, which is absolutely hilarious. So embarrassing was this Green New Deal. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell tried to force the Democrat Party's presidential contenders into an embarrassing vote over the berserk MMT monetary theory inducing climate change proposal, which Republicans are confident that even sober liberals will oppose. Not a single Democrat voted for it. Instead, in the vote, which was block maneuver and, as Boomer put it, to buy time to build their campaign positions. The vote was the first of many attempts by Republicans to force the socialist modern monetary theory supporters of the Green New Deal to come into the spotlight and suffer the public scrutiny. The proposal, mostly a collection of goals for mitigating climate change rather than a fully formed plan of action, which according to some would cost north of $100 trillion and require the launch of helicopter money, known as the modern monetary theory, MMT, has been a favorite target for criticism by McConnell and Republicans ever since AOC and Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts rolled out in February. I could not be more glad that the American people will have the opportunity to learn precisely where each one of their senators stands on this radical top-down socialist makeover of the entire U.S. economy, he says. Alas, the opportunity was denied because instead of voicing their support for the most ludicrous proposal in socialist history, 43 Democrats decided to take the easy way out. Even the 6 Democrat presidential contenders, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand, Bernie Sanders, and Amy Klobuchar all voted present. At this point, the candidates for the Democratic nomination generally haven't spelled out specific proposals, and Cory Booker of New Jersey has called the Green New Deal bold. Senator Kamala Harris of California says it's an investment worth the cost, and Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota described it somewhat less enthusiastically as an aspiration to enact on climate change. Fresh off what has been dubbed as the best day in Trump's presidency on Tuesday, Trump, no longer the subject of Russian collusion conspiracy theories, met with Senate Republicans. Get this, it's so awesome. He met with Senate Republicans, and according to Lindsey Graham says, make sure you don't kill it too much because I want to run against it in 2020.
That's what Trump said, remember, in his speech. It was fantastic.
Oh.
Yeah.
So far so good. In an attempt to save face with progressives, Adam Green, a co-founder of the Grassroots Progressive Change Campaign Committee, said McConnell was trying to force some no votes at a time when Democrats are still reviewing the plan. Voting present shows that Democrats aren't going to hamper things with an early dissent. While the present votes were to be expected, that what came as a surprise is that the 3 Democrats voted with Republicans against the resolution, including Sinema from Arizona, Manchin from West Virginia, and Doug Jones of Alabama, all who are very, very, very tight races there, knowing that they have the Trump supporter, Trump vote.
Yeah.
And if Doug Jones were to vote for it or even president, he's just gone.
Exactly.
And Sinema knows that too because she lost to McSally by just a handful of votes.
Now, did you want me to play this video that everybody is sharing?
Sure. We don't need to go on the rest of this.
Most of you have already seen it, but Mike Lee from Utah put together one of the most hilarious things I have ever seen in my entire life. Now, I don't know what clip I got here, but it was like 13 minutes long.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
That he did. And the part where he gets to like Star Wars cracked me up. But what he was saying essentially, here, let me have it. Let go. Is that her plan is absolutely ridiculous, and then he goes into kind of showing the ridiculousness of it with kind of comparison examples. So let's just go here and have a little fun before we sign off.
Okay. Mute.
Change seriously. But please, Mr. President, nothing could be further from the truth. Because this image has as much to do with overcoming communism in the 20th century as the Green New Deal has to do with overcoming climate change in the 21st. Now, while perhaps not as efficient in some ways as airplanes or as snowmobiles, these hairy bipedal species of space lizards.
Wait, I have to
offer
pause.
Their own unique.
I have to pause this to explain the backstory here. What he was saying is, first he did start out with Alaska. All right, so they want to get rid of all airplanes. He's saying that's not really realistic because most of all of Alaska, they use airplanes to get from point A to point B. But then he says, you know what? I've got this great idea. Let's use these beasts, and they're literally they're not real. They're fictional characters from Star Wars. You would have to know Star Wars in order to know this.
Benefits. Not only are Tauntauns carbon neutral, but according to a report a long time ago and issued far, far away, they may even be fully recyclable and usable for their warmth, especially on a cold night.
Now, that's when Han Solo has to kill one and crawl inside of it.
Luke Skywalker.
Was it
does
Luke?
that.
I thought it was
Yeah.
okay. Luke Skywalker has to crawl inside of it to keep warm.
I draw your attention, Mr. President, to the 20-foot impressive seahorse he's riding. Under the Green New Deal,
That
this
is supposed to
probably
be
Hawaii's
Aquaman.
best bet. Now, I'm the first to admit that a massive fleet of giant, highly trained seahorses would be cool. It would be really, really awesome. But we have to consider a few things. We have no idea about scalability or domestic capacity in this sector. The last thing we want is to ban all airplanes. The solution to climate change is not this unserious resolution that we're considering this week in the Senate, but rather the serious business of human flourishing. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids.
And you know what?
He didn't say have more babies. He's just saying,
Well, but here's the thing, because she was saying that part of the solution was to not have kids.
Right. And that's why he had to put that at the end.
Exactly. And the answer, I would say, in society, and we've been saying it, I've been saying it, Ernie, on this show, to go make babies for your country.
I don't have anything in the background now.
Oh,
I don't
I'm
have
sorry.
a picture.
You need to make a background there.
Yeah.
A Resistance
one
Chicks
more
background.
thing.
Oh, yeah. New York.
No, Georgia passes the heartbeat bill.
Oh, okay. Do you want to cover what's happening in New York?
What's in New York?
About your children not being allowed in public places.
I'll have to do that another time because we're running late. This is cool. Hollywood is saying that they don't want to go to...
it doesn't want you to show it.
I know. This is so
talk
weird.
about New York.
They don't want... I've been having a hard time getting the... a lot of things that come
Ohio passed the heartbeat bill.
Did I lose internet? I lost internet.
I'm sorry. Tell them about what's happening in New York.
Oh, if there's a county in New York, and I don't have it on the top of my head.
Measles are...
That there's a small measles outbreak.
And so if your child is not vaccinated,
right,
you can be thrown in jail for what, 6 months? If you let, or like $100, I don't know how $100,000 fine is ridiculous, whatever it is. If you allow your kid in any public place.
Right.
This is absolute insanity that we are living in here.
Now, you look it up. Georgia, my internet's not working. Georgia passes heartbeat bill. That's a sad thing, and I could cover that whole another time, but I want to leave you on some good news. Yeah, I just pick one.
Well, those are all like not good.
That UWSB is probably a really down.
This
there you
one?
go. Yeah, that's what I tried to bring up. Maybe just play that for people.
Okay.
Because this is good news.
The dust up with Georgia State Patrol troopers that cleared pretty quickly, but definitely a lot of emotion as both sides have spent months passionately pushing for and against.
Police.
This House has agreed to the Senate substitute, House Bill 481.
And with those words from House Speaker David Ralston, one of the strictest abortion laws in the country now heads to Governor Brian Kemp's desk. We spoke one-on-one with the bill's sponsor minutes after the vote.
The importance of this cannot be overstated.
As opponents gathered outside the House chamber, the so-called heartbeat bill passed by a razor-thin margin, one step closer to recognizing unborn babies as Georgia citizens and banning most abortions in Georgia after 6 weeks of pregnancy. Current Georgia law allows 20 weeks.
All along, this is a very important substantive issue. You know, this is an issue where we're carefully balancing the very difficult circumstances women find themselves in with the basic right to life of a child. That's what this is.
That's really well said.
Following the vote, vocal Democratic members got into a bit of a dust-up with GSB troopers who'd asked them to disperse after speaking out against the bill and declaring what they'll do next.
Women and families will show up and will pack the Capitol to hold them accountable before any governor believes that he has the right to stop women from accessing care in their moments when they most need their doctors.
The main hang-up for Democrats, many women aren't even aware.
You sign this bill, you are done. Thank you.
And that's all I have to say.
Well, right after the vote, Governor Kemp's office emailed us.
And I was actually just thinking the exact
all those
same
black
thing.
women, because black women represent...
Planned Parenthood was
wants to annihilate black people.
Black communities first.
Brainwashing.
They're still there. The highest numbers in black communities. They want you guys killed off.
Why, if there's white supremacy,
live reports on the
if
important
there's such a thing as
stories
white
updated
supremacy,
throughout.
you know what that would mean? That would mean that white people would encourage and go door to door and encourage black people to have abortions.
Go to your abortion clinic, get an abortion if you're
because
pregnant.
White supremacy means you don't want other people
now,
of other races.
And here's the deal, guys. What you need to understand is that first woman totally lied. She said that they're trying to get it so that women can't access their care and their doctors when they need it the most. No, this has nothing to do with that. It says women can't access murdering their babies.
They're acting
when they want to.
As if that this bill stops maternal care. It just stops maternal care and makes women care for themselves while they're pregnant.
I know.
We have in this country free health care for all women who are pregnant. Did you know that?
Mississippi and Ohio have a heartbeat bill, Resistance Chick says.
Yeah. So we have in this country white men, Christian men who are standing up for black people, and they're literally trying to punch them in the face and hurt them and say, we want to be able to kill black babies. We want to be able to kill white babies. We want to be able to kill babies.
Right.
And a lot of these, white supremacists, not white supremacists, because it's an oxymoron.
Right.
It's not true. It shows that you're not a white supremacist if you want babies.
I would actually take these
Hispanic
people
babies
more seriously if they would come at you like this and say, listen, I understand the heart of these white men. Right. And I understand that they think that they are trying to protect black babies, that they think that they're trying to protect white babies. And I understand that. But my personal view is that it's a clump of cells and it's not a real baby, because of course it would be a righteous thing for a white man to protect, or any colored man to want to protect the sanctity of a life of a child. And I respect that, but I don't view it as a child, and I view it as, you know, and I could debate this on and on and on. You know, I view it as it's a woman's right, and it's part of her body. It's not a life. I could understand how if someone thought that it was, that this would be a real issue for them. But nobody's going to come at that, because you really shot down your argument when you say that. But I would take you seriously, and I would respect you for it.
And the reason being is that the black family, nuclear family, has collapsed, and most of these black women, they don't know that most of these black Democrat women who support abortion, is what I mean to say, see themselves as, I have to sleep around. Right. And my boyfriend may not want to use a condom, or I might not, my birth control, and I need to sleep around. I have to. And so I'm going to have to need an abortion. Right. I'm going to have an abortion sometime in my life.
Well, it's like Candace Owens talks about, it's a slavery mindset that, like, again, and here I will play, you know, the advocate here from our side of this. I understand why you guys are screaming. I understand why you are so angry, because like Leah just said here, the idea is that these black women, they don't have a choice. It's in their society that they are just going to be promiscuous. They're going to sleep around. And how dare the rest of us say that because of their society that they grew up in, that they're stuck in with gangs and whatnot, that they have to keep a child, when it's just societal that they get pregnant. And I could understand the outcry there. I can understand the anger there. But the solution to a problem like that isn't murder. Okay. And I don't know how much I can say here on our show, but I guess if I can just say, a family member that we just so happened to have was able to save one of these African-American babies that couldn't have a family in their family. And there are so many other families, white, yellow, orange, red, black, whatever, that are willing to take in these children that these young mothers have when they think that they can't care for them. At the same time, there are also programs out there that help these young women keep their children if they want to be a mother. The answer shouldn't always be, whatever happened to Bill Clinton saying, let's make abortions legal, safe, and rare. Now they're not rare. They don't want to tout it as rare. They just want you to kill your baby, and they want it to be your right to do so.
Well, let's just talk about how fantastic this is.
Yes.
I want to turn around say
tell them about the Unplanned thing.
Okay, I want you guys all to go see Unplanned. We'll probably see it maybe next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Unplanned is a movie put together by Abby Johnson. We've showed you guys a trailer. She shared an article of a libertarian who was pro-choice who went to go see the movie, and now she's pro-life.
Get out!
And she says that is why I got them too. And she said that's why I made the movie. And she said they portrayed Planned Parenthood workers as people who feel like they're helping women.
Yeah.
And they portrayed Planned Parenthood workers in a light that these people. Only the people at the tippy top really think that they know that they're murdering people. A lot of people think they're just helping women. So we got to sign off.
All right. Thank you guys for being with us and joining us. Poor Leah. Give her a round of applause for sticking with this really difficult show with her
pray Michelle doesn't get whatever
she has.
I got.
Pray that nobody in the house gets what she has, and that Leah recovers quickly. We love you guys. God loves you. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth. Join us on Sunday for a breaking Brexit show. It'll be fantastic, fabulous. We'll tell you the latest about Jada Franson and so many other things, Tommy and whatnot, at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think you guys may be moving forward in the UK, and so our times may mesh again. We were 5 hours ahead, then we sprung forward, then we're 4 hours ahead, now we'll be 5 hours ahead again. So 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, look up at what that's going to be in your country. All right, we love you guys. God loves you. God bless.
Was cold all alone. No place for home every day. So afraid, but call my name.